welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition here of the PondCast, episode number 59. I'm, of course, SI VIP with him, joined by our lovely producer Kuro, and of course by everyone in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to our weekly talk show, our weekly news, even review here of all things StarCraft and all things StarCraft adjacent as well, as it has been a very intense week of StarCraft. Of course, we were previously covering Euthermal's 2v2 circuits, and we'll be going over the playoffs and the conclusion of that event here. That's, of course, the kind of biggest event that was concluding. Likewise, we also have the StarCraft League, which did begin this week as well. There's a lot to get into. First things first, we do have some roster changes. Of course, we did announce the return of a Nightmare not too long ago, if you recall. That was, 2 weeks ago at this point, and we now have announcements. Streamer Zone, they picked up many players, and they have picked up Nightmare once again. Nightmare was on Streamer Zone before he had retired from StarCraft, before he did join his Deadlock team. Now he is back. Now he's back on Streamer Zone, has been picked up once again. So shout out to Nightmare for his return to StarCraft, and again, does seem like he is, the announcement itself does, announce his return from retirement. Nightmare's also been streaming a lot as well. He's been quite dedicated. He's been on that grind. It is a little bit unfortunate that this return happens after EWC during the off-season, but regardless, he is back. He is looking to devote his time, and we'll see how quickly he can kind of strive to greater heights. We'll be going over a lot of tournament results this week, and he has been very active in those tournaments, and you can get a gauge on his current skill level, bearing in mind that he's only been back for around 2 weeks, and he will only get stronger and stronger from here on forward. Bear that in mind as well. So it's going to be really interesting to catalog, or to keep an eye on his growth as a player over the course of the next couple of months. So that, welcome back, Nightmare, and also welcome back to Streamer Zone. That also leads us to Honmono. Speaking of someone joining Streamer Zone, Honmono has left Streamer Zone. Was on the team for a very short period of time, but has since left Streamer Zone. Again, he joined Streamer Zone to travel to DreamHack Dallas to be a part of that tournament. Now that DreamHack Dallas has come to an end, has concluded, still a little bit later after EWC, that is where he has bid adieu to Streamer Zone, and looks like after his departure of Streamer Zone, he has joined Team Hyper 1 once again. So he is back on Hyper 1. I will say that Homeowner, he has been a little bit more inactive as of late, so it is exciting to see him back, return, and we'll see how if he goes back to StarCraft Evolution again, if he starts competing on a regular basis once again. We should stop for quite some time. Speaking of players leaving teams, another announcement here. Gumiho, he was on SA2L Esports for his run at EWC. Now that the Esports World Cup has concluded, he has since left SA2L. We do expect to see a lot of announcements like this in the near future regarding players that join teams for this reason. Speaking of potentially Classic joining Virtus Pro, speaking of potentially Showtime joining Sentinels and these other teams. A lot of these teams did pick up players solely for their results in the EWC, and since then we've had players like Gumiho leave their team. We've had Creator also leave his team, Alcadzia Esports, Gumiho as well. And we'll see how many more get announced. As always, we do hope that these teams do devote and do commit a little bit more time and dedication to their players. We always speak on Team Vitality, for example, how they have announced multi-year deals with Maru and with the rest of their team. We're hoping to see something similar, but the reality is some of these teams, they're only really interested in that EWC. And again, it is uncertain as to whether or not StarCraft will be at the next year's Esports World Cup. So once it is announced for next year's events, then we're probably going to see these teams reach out once again to the players, pick them back up for the season for the circuit. So I hope that Gumiho can soon find a team, assuming he is looking to continue to compete in StarCraft 2. Best of luck. Best of luck. That leads us here into the RSL Season 2 fan vote. We were speculating on this last week, as last week we actually went over the entirety of the qualifiers for Season 2 of the Revival StarCraft League. Again, RSL Season 1 did wrap up not too long ago. That was pre-EWC. Now we're beginning the second season. If you missed out on the qualifiers, we did cover the qualifiers here on the channel. The VODs are available on YouTube, and if you want our discussion, or at least a brief kind of overview of those those results. We did cover it last week during the podcast. Here, and if you remember, we had some predictions in regards to which players would be most likely voted in. If you remember, the kind of prerequisite was that players that had to have played and competed in the qualifier would be eligible to be voted on by the fans, by the patrons over on RSL Patreon. Now at least I had assumed that Gimiho and Zound were a sure thing, 100%. Gimiho and Zound, I assumed that they were going to be a sure thing, and bam, they do get voted in. Again, there are a lot of fans, I should say. They have a lot of fans, they have a lot of star power behind them, so did think that was going to be a sure thing. If you remember, my hope was that we could see a Zerg player invited, and a Zerg player voted. I was hoping, just because the Zerg representation is very low. I mean, as it always is, but it's very, very low for the RSL. Even lower than last season, so I was hoping that maybe a Zerg player could be voted in. If you remember, though, the only Zerg player that competed in the RSL qualifiers that would be eligible, that is of a high level, was Young Yakov. Young Yakov, he would have been the only Zerg option, and unfortunately, again, he doesn't have as much star power, as much of a big name as some of these other players. So I was hoping that maybe Young Yakov could be voted in, but no. So no Zerg player gets voted in. Instead, it's Gimiho Zound, also Trigger and Bunny as well. So we have 2 extra Protosses and 2 extra Terrans added to the roster, added to the RSL Season 2 lineup. And as we have heard here in the announcement, we will be having the group drawings for the round 16 soon. So I imagine that's going to be live. I mean, it says here that they're going to be creating a video regarding that, posting it, uploading it soon to have that final lineup of the round of 16. Bearing in mind as well that the RSL does begin in a week. In a week. In around 2 weeks. Around 2 weeks' time is going to be the RSL. So we're probably going to be hearing about the groups soon before we dive into the Revival StarCraft 2 Season 2 event. Oh boy, so best of luck. Best of luck to all those involved, and congratulations to those that did get voted in. My condolences to those that barely didn't quite make the cuts. As that leads us to our next big bit of news, and that is the SC Evo Patch Notes. StarCraft Evolution, we actually finally got back to casting some SC Evo not too long ago when we were covering the show matches. That was this Monday. This Monday we covered the Epic Series show match between Tasia and Classic. It was a lot of fun, and it reminded me just how much fun we do have with StarCraft Evolution. It was a nice breath of fresh air. Again, I do apologize for the SC Evo fans that we have out there that typically tune into us for a lot of StarCraft Evolution content. We just haven't had the luxury of having the time to cover those events. We've just been so busy with EWC, Fusion Esports League, Home Story Cup, RSL Season 1. There's just been now the Thermal 2v2 circuit, of course, as well. Because we've been so busy with these other events and so busy with these other circuits, we just haven't had the time to squeeze in StarCraft Evolution casts. Unfortunately, whenever we have to make a decision on what to cast and what not to cast, usually SC Evo does fall by the wayside just because we devote a lot of time to StarCraft 2 events as our main priority. And then whenever we have free time, then we can slip in some StarCraft Evolution. That's typically how we approach things. And unfortunately, again, SC Evo has been on the cutting block when it comes to what events we typically do cast and do cover, or we try to cast and cover. Likewise, I was also, unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to cast. There was one day that we didn't cast. That was yesterday. Yesterday we didn't cast. We were slated to cover some StarCraft Evolution, and we missed out on Pegasus Cup as well. I do apologize. Again, I was feeling under the weather, was a little bit unwell. It is winter here. It's been very cold, and unfortunately got a little bit sick. But thankfully, I'm good. I'm recovered. And now we can go back to covering StarCraft Evolution, especially with the SC Evo Championship, SC Evo League Championship, starting up last week. Last weekend was the round of 36. We'll be going over those results. Don't you worry. We're going over those results later on during the podcast. So we'll be getting there, of course. And as we should be adding that to the to our topic list, by the way. We'll be going through that. Likewise, before we get into those results, before we get into the round of 36, we have patch notes. We have the patch notes. Now, again, we've been avoiding covering a lot of this just because we've been our PondCasts have been so dense, and usually it's been like PondCast into a cast as well, so we just haven't had the time to. Last we touched on SC Evo, it was StarCraft Evolution Update 1.16 or Patch 1.16. That was the big patch. It was a controversial one. It was the degenerates rushed and the it was the patch that was poorly written. Just absolutely just atrocious. But what's important is the content itself of these patches is what is being done, what is being brought forward. Of course, we have already discussed about the kind of changing in the hierarchy, or the changing of some of the people behind the scenes working on StarCraft Evolution, how Hyper One has taken the reins in regards to balance. We did already discuss our own concerns regarding that, the negative outcomes of that as well. But overall, is still very passionate about the mod, is still very passionate about the game, and is pushing forward with, bringing it to further and further, I should say, heights. So here we go. First things first, we have the 1.16.1 patch. Oh boy. So from the beginning here, we do have some new models. We did already notice some of these models and some of these changes, as we already covered some StarCraft Evolution in recent times. Looks like we have a new model for the engineering bay. Just to reiterate, for a lot that maybe are a little bit unfamiliar with StarCraft Evolution is a mod that does bring together Brood War and SE2 and has them pit and face off against each other in a 1v1 format, in a competitive format. Now, StarCraft Brood War and SE2, the races, Terran, Protoss, Zerg, and Zerg, they're similar in name only. Like a lot of these races are very, very different from each other. They play very differently. That's what makes it so interesting to cover these events. So they're doing the best they can to distinguish the races from each other. That is why they're creating and introducing these new models, new skins, new upgrade visuals as well, all to make sure that, say, Brood or Terran does look and feel visually different to SE2 Terran, because it works very differently. So they want to distinguish one from the other. So slowly over time, even though yes, there is a StarCraft 2 eBay model that they could use, and they have been using it, well, when they get around to it, they ideally do want to replace 100% of the visual models of the units and the buildings, to make it all custom. And here we have the eBay coming in. So we have our Brood War eBay that has been created, so it is great to see. Likewise, because of the anniversary, which was quite some time ago, it looks like they did actually add some theme skins to try to celebrate that, of course. Looks like we have some other model updates. We have the Valkyrie weapon effects, we have the Siege Tank weapon effects, just some small scaling effects or some small effects here and there regarding specific units, regarding some specific models. Let's quickly go over the brief note that we do have here. And it looks like they want to try to standardize some of the terminology that they use. Quickly here, due to ongoing confusion about the way stats are presented, we are changing the way game speed sensitive stats are displayed on blog posts. So for those that are curious, for blog posts, typically that might be changing here, but typically they would have like in-game like times and speed, and then the actual real time, like times and speed. This is just because the in-game clock is actually different to regular clock. It actually does go a little bit faster. It's just a little bit different, so timings are a little bit weird, and they would always like place both times instead of just one. And I think it looks like they might be getting rid of that here. So here, instead of the usual normal speed, faster speed presentation stats like movement speed and attack period will be now written in faster speed, normal speed. This change better aligns with how our readers digest blog post content. For those that are curious, faster speed is what the game is played at. Normal speed is, I guess, like regular time. And yeah, as it's being stated here, usually it'd be normal speed first and faster speed. Now it's going to be the opposite, faster speed and then normal speed. This is probably a good thing. The reason for this is because faster speed is how we digest things, just because that's relevant to the game itself when we do play the game, when we do watch and view the game and commentate on the game as well. So again, it's just a little bit of a change that they're going to be making moving forward regarding how they present some of these values. Cool. Scrolling on down, general changes. Minimap pings for potential enemy start locations now last for 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds. Okay, interesting. For those that are curious what this is, in StarCraft Evolution, whenever you spawn into a 4-player spawn map, for example, you actually get pinged possible spawn locations. Now, this has been adjusted. Originally, it was, okay, so there are 4 possible spawn locations. You spawn into one of them, and this is specific for 4-player spawn maps, you'll get pinged 2 locations where your opponent is, basically removing one of the options. So then you know, okay, like, I know 100% they're not at this location. Now it's like 50-50 when it comes to scouting, just to reduce the RNG and the likelihood that you would miss a cheese, a proxy, a rush, because now there's a higher chance that you will scout your opponent on a 4-player spawn map. I say this was how it was originally. That was changed in 1.16, in the 1.16 patch. It was changed where, I think it was changed that then it was like, it would show you 2, but there was only like a 50% chance. It was like a percentage chance that would actually trigger, otherwise it wouldn't. It's like something along those lines. And that was a more recent change that they kind of went through and they're kind of messing with. Here, so those pings that we're referring to that would let you know where your opponent spawns or where they could potentially spawn, looks like it lasted 60 seconds. Now they're increasing that to 90 seconds. So now you have a higher chance of, remembering or keeping an eye on your minimap and recognizing where those locations are, which I'm all for. It looks like it's just maybe some players will miss that, or maybe they're just so focused on their opener that it'd be maybe a little bit unforgiving. They check, they glance over, and bam, they missed it, and it can be maybe a little bit harder to determine. So this is just a way to help with that. And it even says here, this change further ensures that players know where to scout for their opponent's 4 spawn locations, that casters can see them and follow player scouting patterns. That last line is an interesting one, just because I wonder if this was just for casters. Very often we would cast, I would introduce the players, right? We do our player intros, we do our fanfares. Like, as spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have Scarlett from Canada representing Shopify. Like, we'd have our player intros. By the time we finish them, I'm pretty sure those 60 seconds were up, especially if Yaku was casting. So then I would very often finish the intro and then check to see where they saw the spawn location of their opponent, just so I know, like, where they're going to be checking and the chances of that and where they're going to send their worker. But often I would miss the interval and I wouldn't know where they were pinged. Obviously, as a caster, we see where their opponent is, but I don't know what they have seen. I'll be honest, I always believed that we couldn't see that. I think we tested trying to check their vision and things of that nature, and I don't think we could. But maybe we could. Maybe we just miss it every time. It's possible. It's possible. So this might just be for casters as well. They might have like timed how long an intro is, and then gotten the average, and then just made sure that we had a little bit of time after an intro to be to be able to see spawn locations. Maybe. It's going down. We have Terran changes coming up here. First, we have the Academy, the Firebat, and the Medic. Ooh, so before looking at any of the blog posts, it looks like, and these are all nerfs, of course. I feel like we have this discussion every single time we talk about the patch for StarCraft Evolution, or the mod of StarCraft Evolution. Brood War Terran is considered to be quite strong, quite powerful, especially bio, especially 2-on-1s, or I should say 3-racks builds and 3-racks timings. And this is like, what, the 6th or 7th time that they're getting nerfed? Brood War Terran they've been messing around a lot with the Academy, with stim timings, upgrade timings, the Firebat, the Medic, the Marine. So many adjustments have been made because it has been so dominant and so prevalent. Looks like here we have another adjustment, another nerf to Bio Terran. We have the build cost increase from 125 to 150 minerals. With the Firebat HP decrease from 65 to 55, and we have the Medic decrease the HP restoration per NG from 2.25 to 2 as well. Okay, so we are going to be, and again, we'll be getting into the rationale for this, but we can already assume what this is kind of in regards to. The performance of Brood War Terran bio armies remains somewhat overwhelming, particularly against SE2 Zerg. A reduction of the Medic's heal energy efficiently targets the all-around versatility and longevity of Brood War bio armies without directly affecting in combat performances. Decreased Firebat HP targets early game interaction against SE2 Zerg, where the sheer efficiency of the Firebat against Zerglings and the need for Queens or Roaches to kill at first restricts SE2 Zerg's defensive options. The reversion in Academy to its original build cost is a third incremental adjustment to the strength of Stimpack timings, as well as a slide to overuse of gathering information when playing mech. So again, like in regards to what this is referring to, basically, very often games would end early, just because of the strength of these builds, the strength of these pushes. There's also a bit of a comment here regarding roach-based openers and the prevalence of roach-based openers to be able to defend, be safe against this kind of play. Again, this has been quite prevalent. Bearing in mind that this patch is a little bit outdated, we are going to be going through patch 1.16.1, 0.2, and 0.3. These patches have been released over the past month of play, so we're going to be quickly going through every single one of these amendments, of these updates to patch 1.16. Well, we're getting there. Because we unfortunately weren't able to discuss this in previous podcasts. Scrolling down, we have the Goliath. Also, in regards to mech, they're referring to the Academy. You do need the Academy to actually get a comstat station to actually be able to scan. Not just that, but also, I believe, can be a prerequisite for other such tech. So it is still somewhat relevant. I mean, they're talking about gathering information when playing mech, so that is in regards to scan, in regards to the comstat station. Scrolling down, we have the Goliath. The Goliath decrease Karen boosters range bonus plus 2.5 to 2. Okay, so we're going to be nerfing the range bonus. Scrolling down, despite a slight nerf to Karen Booster's range bonus, the Goliath's strong maneuverability allows it to dominate slower airborne targets. Tempest, for instance, are unable to kite effectively against Goliaths unless aided by highly obstructive terrain. To fix this, the Goliath post Karen Booster's range has been reverted to 8. Okay, so this is just in regards to the anti-air capabilities. Speaking of anti-air capabilities of mech, we go into the Valkyrie, which is also going to be adjusted here. Interesting. So it looks like it is going to be a little bit cheaper to produce. It's going from 250, 125 to 200, 100. Decreased build time as well, so it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be faster to build as well, from 32.9 seconds to 32.1. And scrolling down a little bit further here, we have a decrease attack damage. Okay, from 5.25 times 8 to 4.5 times 8. Likewise, damage versus armored has been decreased by 1. So instead of 7 times 8, it's going to be 6 times 8. 8 is in regards to the shots that it does unload, as it is splash damage. And damage versus light has also been reduced from 4.375 to 3.75. Okay. So this is once again in regards to anti-air capabilities, as again that's typically what the Valkyrie is used for. Scoring down from a mount's perspective, the Valkyrie is held back in two ways. One hand, a sizable group of Valkyries larger than a certain critical mass supply simply obliterates enemies without counterplay. So this was something that was addressed, I believe, in 1.16. If you remember, I know it was quite some time ago, but in 1.16, I believe there was a standardization of nerfing the certain units and their splash damage. I believe the Valkyrie was involved. I believe the Corsair was also involved as well. I believe the Valkyrie, the Corsair, and maybe the Devourer as well. But I believe a bunch of that like splash damage, anti-air damage was kind of reduced, just because it would often be kind of crazy just how much damage you could output in such a short amount of time as well. It would basically punish stacking very, very hard, and I remember that being addressed in the previous patch, but looks like they're taking it a little bit of a step further here, specifically with the Valkyrie. This is particularly difficult for SC2 Zerg, which must be able to answer Valkyrie science vessel battlecruiser armies in late game. Brutal Terran is often able to gather Valkyries from a comfortable defensive stance. In this matchup, this fact motivated previous nerfs to the Valkyrie damage in 1.16. Oh, yeah, that's what we just mentioned, and it is addressing that. So yeah, from my memory, I believe in 1.16 in that patch, the Valkyrie, the Corsair, like a bunch of like these units to do a lot of splash damage, that this was nerfed, but it looks like they are going a little bit further with that here as well. Looks like they maybe thought they hadn't done enough. Bearing in mind that I don't actually have as much context as to whether or not these changes are warranted, just because we, if you remember at the beginning of us discussing this patch, we spoke about how in recent times we just haven't been able to cast as much StarCraft Evolution, especially during like the quote-unquote PTR period. So because of that, I don't really have as much context to go through for specifically 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3. It's in that kind of era of StarCraft Evolution where we don't have as much kind of like first-hand experience covering tournaments because our coverage was very, very limited on StarCraft Evolution. So I kind of have to go off of their word whether or not this is kind of like warranted or not. I mean, we're going to be going over the other amendment patches as well. Maybe they go back on it, maybe they push it further. We'll try to piece it all together. On the other hand, acquiring Valkyries in the first place can be a struggle, since a small number of Valkyries, even in their strongest state, can be picked off without accomplishing anything. So I guess this is in regards to making them cheaper, making them faster to build, just making them more accessible, but reducing its power. I mean, we'll see if they're able to achieve what it is that they're looking for here. This is most notable against SG Terran, where a low Valkyrie count can easily be destroyed by a longer range of Vikings. Therefore, it is difficult for Brood War Terran to wrestle air control away from SG Terran. Again, air control is just a big part of TVT, period. I think I would also attribute that to SE Evolution TVT as well. Moreover, unlike other air-to-air units like the Corruptor, which can use Caustic Spray, or the Devourer, which is supportive units, the Valkyrie is solely a damage dealer and must be masked to be effective. So yes, they had that rationale in regards to the Valkyrie. Scrolling down, we do have Zerg changes. Queen, decrease and snare cast range from 10 to 9, decrease parasite cast range from 10 to 9, decrease spawn broodlings. Oh Jesus, just flat out nerf here. It looks like just nerfing the range from 10 to 9. I mean, 10 does sound insanely oppressive, and ideally you do want some counterplay available in regards to exposing your spellcasters and trying to punish them. Likewise, the Defiler, HP decrease from 90 to 80. Interesting. I'm curious as to what the rationale is in regards to the Defiler being a little bit weaker. We'll see if it has anything to do with, say, something like snipe damage. Let's have a look. Due to the SC2 Ghost supply cost being increased from 2 to 3 in StarCraft 2's patch, SC2 Terran late game has suffered considerably against Brood War Zerg. Interesting. Although Terran can contend with Zerg until the late game, this changes once Zerg acquires Queens and Defilers. Since patch 5.0.14 did not provide compensation to this nerf, the drop in power on SC2 Terran's side is noticeable in the late game. Interesting. It's interesting to see how a patch to SC2 impacts StarCraft Evolution. They have to compensate for that, for sure. Top SC2 Terran in the late game against Brood War Zerg, and increase the overall interactivity of the Queen with enemy units. The cast ranges of the Queen's spells have been reduced to 9. This places the Queen in slightly more danger when using his spells. Okay, interesting. I will say that this is something that, of course, SC2 Terran players have had to contend with when it comes to base SC2. Having to work with a smaller ghost count. I think most players are in favor of it, but as they mentioned, like maybe some compensation has to be done here with the Queens, with the Filer. We'll see how this impacts other matchups, is what I will say, just because these spellcasters can also be quite influential against Protoss, against other races, of course, and even against Zerg and ZVZ. So curious to see how this impacts the other matchups, as it will do so, not just ZVT. So it's interesting. Scrolling down, one final Protoss change to the fleet peak can increase the build cost from 250, 200 to 300, 200 as well. This change restores the fleet peak to its original cost and further discourages quickly rushing carriers and disruption web, which probably is not a bad thing to discourage something like a carrier rush. Whether it does or doesn't, I mean, we'll find out. We will find out. So barely any Protoss changes with this first amendment. Terran was mainly hit here. It was interesting. It's a very targeted patch. Very, very targeted, very lean as well. I mean, it is like an amendment patch. And this is one like the pros, I guess, of something like StarCraft Evolution. You don't have to go through all this testing period and have to go through all these kind of like layers of confirming and checking. So there are, again, pros and cons to this being updated on a more regular basis, right? Like every couple of weeks you can push through certain changes. You can make an argument for sure when it comes to some of these changes where it's like, oh, you know, especially after a big change occurs, you want to let the meta settle. You want players to explore and come up with their own solutions. So there are pros and cons when it comes to pushing changes on a regular basis, because you don't allow players to do that as much, because you're stepping in and you're saying like, oh, this is too strong, let's nerf it, before giving them time. That I'm not saying that is the case here, just saying that that is something to bear in mind in regards to how this is being handled. But overall, as I mentioned before, I don't have as much greater context as to how 1.16 has been looking, because basically during the launch of 1.16, I think that's around the last time we casted. I think the last big like SEVO event that we covered was Stark Evolution Masters number 4, which was like the PTR, which was like the PTR 1.16 event, because I believe we casted it from the clean feed because we couldn't quite gain access to it regularly. So again, it's been a while. But with that, that wraps up our initial 1.16.1 patch. Again, mainly addressing Bio Terran, addressing the Valkyrie when it comes to the splash damage, when it comes to its anti-air. Likewise, trying to compensate for the SS2 Terran in regards to spellcasters with the Violet and the Queen. Interesting. That leads us into the next patch, into 16.2. The previous one was on the 8th of August. This is a couple of days later, less than a week later, on the 13th of August. Okay. So quite quickly, like again, less than a week after the previous patch. This is, as we were mentioning, kind of like the pros and cons is, we'll see what they address. We'll see. And of course, this was, I think, maybe even the last patch before the Stark Evolution Championship, potentially. Let's quickly go over the brief notes. Due to ongoing confusion... Were they discussing this again? Wait, what? Am I getting deja vu? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Okay. Did they switch it back?
It's the same intro. Pretty sure it's the same.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. It's exactly copy pasted. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I was going crazy.
Look,
yeah,
maybe someone didn't
maybe they copy
the
pasted the
patch.
template.
Yeah, maybe someone.
Maybe
Someone didn't read the previous patch, so they need to.
We need to hammer it down. It's true. We're hammering it down. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. Or someone copy pasted this and left the same brief notes and maybe didn't update it. It's fine. Typically, the brief note goes over the changes that are coming up, but it's all good. Terran changes. Again, is this the 8th patch that has nerfed Brood War Terran? The Brood War Terran Bio? Okay, let's go. I'm sorry, I say my apologies. Actually, I say nerfed. Looks like there's some buffs here. Hold on. Marine. It says Marine here. It's really Stim. It's kind of weird that it has the Marine and the Firebat here, but sure. I guess I understand. It's just because these are the units that are affected by the upgrade. So instead of posting the upgrade itself, it's listing the units. But Stim, decreased research time. Okay, so once again they're adjusting by a turn. I should emphasize that. So it looks like Stim is going to be researching a little bit faster. I do remember it wasn't too long ago that they increased the research time. Looks like now they are decreasing the research time. Interesting. They've increased the research time of the uranium of the U-238 shells. Okay, from 78.6 to 85.7. Interesting that they're decreasing Stim and increasing shells. Again, we'll kind of see what they're referring to. While Brood War Bio armies have strong scaling into the mid-game, Stim timings themselves haven't lost much of their edge as the defense has been figured out. Even against SS2 Zerg, where they have historically been strongest. If you remember, we spoke about this in the previous patch, and I think even in the one before that, referring to Roach-based openers and Roach-based play against Bio have been very safe. We have even seen some Ling Bane defense against the early Stim timings, which I don't think is a bad thing. I would say that ideally this encourages different openers, different play styles, and not just the same timings from Terran players. So I would say that's probably a positive thing. But if that is occur, and which is why I was really appreciative of, I think it was Tasia. I think it was Tasia and Dice as well. They were much more diverse when it comes to their builds and when it comes to their play, especially against Zerg as well. I think that was one of the more exciting things about the two of them. It was very refreshing casting Tasia and Dice against Zerg, just because it did feel like they were a little bit more exploratory and they were a little bit less one note. Personally, from my recollection, covering the two of them. Slight reduction in research time should help in this regard. U-238 shells research time is increased to avoid consequently speeding up mid-game bio timings. Basically, the short little rant that we had is almost justified by what this is saying. I spoke earlier about how if you're patching this frequently and this often, you're not letting players like kind of learn, adapt, and respond. And what I'm referring to here is I'm referring to the strength of Brood or Terran. And if you've been watching players like Shin, watching players like 3 Point, even Dark previously, even in the rise and in the peak, the prime kind of era of 3x stim, of these bio pushes and these stim timings, the best of the best Zerg players, they were holding, they were defending, they were figuring it out, and they were able to surpass that. Able to surpass that, able to shut it down, and able to force longer games. Only the best of the best, though, is what I'm referring to. Despite that, nerfs were still coming in, and as a result, like as they get more and more refined in their responses, and as other Zerg players pick up on that, and as they grow and as they evolve, as they learn, then you're like, oh, maybe we like nerfed this a little bit too much when we didn't need to. Now we have to revert those changes. So I think this is like probably a good example of that. Now you could make an argument that even though these Zerg players were learning, even though they were adapting, even though they were defending and forcing longer games, that doesn't necessarily make things balanced or make it good, because if you look at the game states, you're forcing certain play that you might not want. This is the big issue right now when it comes to StarCraft 2 ZVT, when it comes to roach openers. If you remember, we spoke about this when we had a discussion about Hero Marine and Gabe and his response to Pig's proposed patch notes, about how he was, is the word misguided, or he was kind of missing the point. We spoke about how Gabe, one of his gripes about the proposed patch notes was that if you remember, he said something along the lines of, I think the ZVT is in a good place right now. I don't know why Pig wants to push for these changes, for these buffs to promote more variety and different play when the win rates are like in a good place. And the problem there is that sure, they could be in a good place, but if you look at the games that are actually happening and the kind of play that is transpiring, that's where the issues lie. I'm referring specifically about how Ling Bane has fallen by the wayside in ZVT, and we've seen a lot of roach-based builds and roach-based openers because they're safer. And on the one hand, yes, Zerg players are winning, but if you look at how they're winning and how they're surviving and how they're playing, and if you look at that, you might be thinking that's maybe not the healthiest thing for the game. Maybe that's not the most entertaining thing. It's not what people want. It's not what people like. Historically, we spoke about it. Everyone, it's rare nowadays, but Ling Bane Muta is very much so out of meta. It's not really viable. It's very difficult to get into. So the idea of trying to promote something like Ling Bane Muta, in my mind, makes sense, because you're looking out for pushing a better or more exciting play style. And if you look at quote unquote win rates, like, that doesn't tell you that. It doesn't tell you what's happening in those games. It doesn't tell you how they're playing. It doesn't tell you why they're playing in such a way. And a lot of people have definitely expressed their unfortunate disappointments in how the meta has shaped out, and it's just not as entertaining. And I would agree with that. It's just not as entertaining like seeing roach-based openers. It's less intense. It's slower paced. It has its own issues, of course. So, like, winding it back to this is why I'm saying that, like, you know, that's also why, like, sure, maybe Zerg players have been getting better at defending against it, but depending on their play, like, that also tells you, like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Do we want this? Do we not want this? Like, that's kind of a lot that goes into it outside of just win rates, right? Outside of just win rates. Which makes, you know, balance so much more difficult at times, of course. Regardless, we do have our buff here to stim. Scrolling down, we do have our Vulture. We have something more mech focused. Vulture, Siege Tank, and Science Vessel. Okay. Increased Island Thruster's research time from 57 to 64. This is most likely trying to address, there is a build, there's like a double factory, like mass Vulture all-in or one base play that you can go for that also was very prevalent and very popular. I would imagine that increasing the research time on Iron Thrusters is designed to target that specifically, that kind of rush. That specific build. Scrolling down, decrease Spider-Mine's research time from 71.4 to 57.1. That's actually quite hefty. Jesus. That's kind of crazy. Okay. At the same time, you could argue that it's a more important upgrade because you're often reliant on spider mines, and that also helps when it comes to defensive play as well. So I'm curious to hear the rationale on that and the reasoning for that. Scrolling down, we have the Siege Tank. Decreased Mjolnir 120mm shot cannon attack period from 2.8 to 2.7. Okay. So it's gonna have a shorter attack period, so it shoots more often, slightly. Science also increase the radiate effect radius, target radius, plus 0.875 to 1. Okay, so increased radius on a radiate. These changes reverse slight over-nerfing of Brood War Terran units that resulted in them losing their identities. Due to recent nerfs, 2 Factory Vulture play has been substantially weakened, in particular. Spider-Mine research taking longer than Ion Thrusters research does change the feeling of such play. Okay, there's a bit of a typo there. Oh, no, it's fine. Longer than Iron Thrusters research does change. It's fine. Of such play drastically from Brood War. These Vulture changes reduce the overall time spent researching upgrades. Cool. With Brood War Terran's most powerful, so it's a way to overall decrease the time it takes to get both upgrades, but also still make sure that players aren't rushing Iron Thrusters and rushing into that. With Brood War Terran's most powerful anti-air options nerfed, we saw that in the previous patch, air units which were previously just an afterthought are now able to effectively counter mech play. With this in mind, the Siege Tank is being reverted to its pre-1.16 attack period. Okay, cool. Also in patch 1.16, the radius of Irradiate was greatly reduced, helping to prevent Zerg armies from being completely annihilated when dealing with large numbers of science vessels. However, now it is hard to feel the effects of even a few Irradiates used together. This incremental change is intended to make use of Irradiates more meaningful without making it overwhelming. I'm curious to see how this dynamic is approached. Personally, I have seen a lot of Irradiates used in ZVT, and I love seeing the counterplay of Zerg players peeling off units that are affected or just killing their own units as well to deal with that. So there is like counterplay there. So yeah, it's interesting that they feel the need to increase this once again, which again I'm not too opposed of, just because there is counterplay there, for sure. Scrolling down, Zerg changes. Overlord, increased Numerous carapace research time from 28.6 to 35.7. Interesting. This upgrade is having its research time lengthened slightly to allow for slightly longer window between when fast detection is required and when it actually becomes available. For example, this opens up more meaningful opportunities for Banshee harassment. Potentially. Obviously, with Overlords, I mean, does it? I don't know if that's true. I feel like Overlords are going to be covering mineral lines regardless of speed or not. So I don't know if that's going to benefit what was mentioned here in the comments. In fact, I would say that it shouldn't, just because Overlords are going to be in mineral lines regardless. But I'm not opposed to reducing this, especially because, I mean, Brutal Terran is just different because all Overlords are detectors. Just winding it back, Overseer isn't a thing, right? Overseer is not a thing. Overlords in general, they are detectors. So because that, going into like Dark Templar or Banshees, in general, cloak units are less effective. They're a little bit less effective against Brood War Zerg. So trying to give them a little bit more effectiveness here, it makes sense in my mind just to make it a little bit more viable in terms of harassing, in terms of being active on the map. Sure, I can see that. Zergling, decrease attack period from 0.429 to 0.421. Okay, I know that a lot of Zergling, a lot of these changes, I'm not saying that this is the case here, but I know that a lot of changes to Zerglings and Hydras are really impactful to ZVZ, and there's been a lot of discussion about that, and I'm curious if this is also about ZVZ as well. So the Brutal Zergling is going to have a greater attack rate. I remember they nerfed this, if I recall, in the previous patch. Hydra's increased attack period from 0.67 to 0.69. Nice. Scrolling down. Zergling has proven to be slightly underwhelming unit as of late, especially in ZVZ. Yeah, there you go. So typically whenever there's a change to the Zergling in such a manner, like it's usually in regards to ZVZ. There's definitely a fine balance to be had between the ZVZ interaction, just because Banelings exist for SE2 and they don't exist for Brood War Zerg, so there's definitely a lot of fine tuning that has to be had there in regards to the strength of the Zergling to make up for that, to compensate. Of course, the strength of the Hydra as well. Meanwhile, the Hydralist has once again shown itself to be too strong of a generalist. It's definitely difficult to, again, fine tune the Zergling, the Hydralist. The reason why I bring this up is just because for Brood War Zerg, they don't have as much variety in how they construct their armies. This is probably the biggest downside here of Brood War Zerg, is unlike for SE2 Zerg, they've got Ling Bane, they've got Ling Bane Roach Ravager, of course, so they can get into a Roach Ravager based composition. They can take up into Ultras, take up into Lurkers. Here it's Ling Hydra. It has to be Ling. They don't have the option to go into Ling Bane and stay on Ling Bane. They don't have the option to go into like a Roach based composition. I guess they can go into Spire Tech, I guess, in certain circumstances. But like the Hydra is very much a core part of Brood War Zerg, and yeah, that's definitely I don't envy trying to make sure that it stays as balanced as it can be. Like, it's not too strong, not too weak. Because I feel like a lot hinges on the Hydra. To incentivize more varied army compositions and allow Marines to be effective against the Hydralists, we are moving some of the power to the Zergling. Okay. So it looks like part of this is trying to maybe push towards more Ling heavy compositions and maybe open up the possibility of going like pure Ling into Ultra. I don't know if that's possible or viable as a Brood War Zerg, but it looks like they're trying to push for that. This particular nerf to the Hydra is much more conservative than last time. The Hydra had a sack period nerfed from this amount, which should simply the Hydralist's intended counters to defeat it without crippling its performance outright. Interesting. Lastly, the Lurker. Decrease Lurker aspect research costs 200 to 150. Increase morph cost from 5075 to 5100. Increased total morph cost as well. Decreased Lurker HP. Increased Lurker attack damage from 20 to 25. Decreased Lurker attack damage bonus +5 versus light to +0. Interesting. Okay, so the Lurker is going to cost more, at least when it comes to individual morph costs. It's going to have less HP. It's going to do less damage versus light, less bonus damage versus light, but just I guess that just gets added to the base damage overall. Okay, interesting. Recently, the Lurker's morph cost was reduced by 25 gas. I guess that was in 1.16. The intention was to offset the increase to the cost of Lurker aspect research and make it easier for Brood War Zerg to defend against S2 Terran timings. But in fact, it has resulted in S2 Terran having too few opportunities for early damage. Interesting. Moreover, since Zerg can now produce so many Lurkers on just 6 Vesuvian Gas Geysers, S2 Terran had no answers to Lurkers, as Terran is lacking in supply defense tools to kill large numbers of non-light, non-armored units. To address this, we reverted the Lurker Vesuvian Gas cost, as well as revert its HP to its original Brood War value. This, I feel like for me, this is the change that I would keep an eye on the most. Just because, I mean, we spoke about it. We just spoke about how it feels like Brood War Zerg has less variety available, so the options that it has have to be solid. So yeah, we'll see if this is too much. We'll see if it's all good. We'll see if Zerg players can still defend against early aggression. I mean, I'm sure they can. It's just going to push for a certain style, maybe even push for earlier Lurker tech just to be safe against this sort of thing. See. To avoid reducing Lurker's power too much in the other matchups, its bonus damage against light targets is now dealt to all enemies. This does not affect meaningfully improve its performance against Marine heavy Terran armies, but it's substantial compensation against Zerg and Protoss armies, which tend to have plenty of non-light units. Okay. Yeah, interesting. This is definitely something I'd be interested to see come into play. So we haven't casted Zerg as of late. Scoring down Protoss changes. Zealots. HP decreased by 10, increased, and that's been added to the shields instead. Same to be said with the Dragoon and with the Reaver, okay? So less HP, more shields. Decreased scarab production time from 5.7 to 4.69. Decreased scarab movement speed from 9.1 to 8.4. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm most interested in the movement speed reduction. These changes in the vitals of these units allow the disruption purification over to one-shot them, returning some badly needed power to execute Protoss frontal engagements in mid-game Protoss versus Protoss. True. If you remember, disruptors, they do bonus damage to shield-based units, so it looks like this is specifically to give Protoss more power in PvP. It's also going to mean that these units are going to be a little bit weaker against EMP as well in Terran versus Protoss matchups. That's also a bit of a side effect. Maybe not the biggest of deals, but that's also going to be applied here. The decrease in scarab production time targets specific interactions in early game PvP when a Reaver has been produced from the robotics facility of a 2-gate expanding Brutal Protoss player defending all-in from S2 Protoss. The decreased scarab production time will afford the Brutal player a critical extra 1 to 2 scarabs. However, it will largely not affect other matchups or phases of the game, since Reavers in ideal play are always full on scarabs and rarely have the opportunity to deplete all 5. I would say that this is probably going to be causing some maybe different interactions between Reaver openers in PvT. This might actually be the reason why, if you remember, when we casted Classic versus Tasia recently a couple of days ago, Classic, I think almost every game he opened Reaver. Almost, like Dragoon into Reaver, which is standard, of course, but even in the past, Classic would often mix things up. He would often mix in different builds from time to time, but that was not the case in his recent show match against Tasia. This might be a part of it, just because of that scarab production time, of having potentially 1 or 2 extra scarabs available to you when you hit across the map. Just because when you're going for that specific build, you don't have like a full arsenal of scarabs. You only have a handful of them available because you're going for that opener, because you're trying to hit as quickly as possible. So this is something that potentially also impacts that opener as well. Potentially. Just piecing things together. So, yeah, interesting changes to the Reaver, interesting changes. Also, I should say that with the decreased movement speed, that also potentially gives a little bit more counterplay available against the Reaver. But changes to the Reaver, changes to the Lurker are things that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye open for when it comes to whether it's too much or too little when it comes to covering some of these events. But again, this was less than a week. This was less than a week after the previous patch, and then that leads us into 1.16.3, which is the next day. Wait, what? So this was posted on the 13th of August. Point 3 was posted on the 14th of August. Wait, what? Oh wait, no. I think it's the same thing. Okay.
No, there's new
No,
stuff.
it's
There's
different.
a new defiler model.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a little bit confused. This was the next day. Wait, what? Am I crazy? The last one was on the 13th of August. This is the 14th of August. Okay. Okay. This is a day later. So a day later, after long waits, they have the new Defiler model. Cool. We have a new model for the Defiler. Brief note, due to ongoing confusion, it's the same. They just copy pasted it. It's fine. And we just go straight into the changes again. Okay. Decreased build time of the racks. Increased build time of the academy. Wait, did we not just touch the academy? Hold on. In 16.1? Or was it Stim? It was so in 16.1 they increased the build cost of the academy, and here they're increasing the build time of the academy. So every patch, this is the next day we got some more changes for Bioterran. Like Brood War Bioterran have been, it's like every 2 weeks, like they mess around with the numbers every time. Okay, so decreased build time. for the rack, so it's now going to be finishing up a little bit faster by a couple of seconds. Likewise, the Academy increased build time from 21.4 to 25. Marine increased attack period from 0.67 to 0.69, and increased the attack period with stim as well. Okay, so that means that they attack less frequently. So its overall DPS is going to be hindered. Yeah, this what happened? What happened in 24 hours that caused them to push this out? That's what I'm most surprised by. What events occurred in 24 hours? Within that 24-hour period where they're like, we gotta stop this. We gotta push it out now. Oh my god. The Marine is receiving an attack period in line with yesterday's Hydra nerf. Both seem slightly overtuned as generalists, holding out in seemingly unfavorable fights with a lack of diversity, even though they both have to be to some degree. Okay. To partly compensate for the worst stack period in the other game and to enable faster ramping up of production in the late game relative to SG barracks and reactors, the racks is also having build time decrease slightly. To ensure impact timings are not sped up, the Academy time has been increased by the same amount. Proxy barracks play has not been too popular, and we expect with further nerfs to the Marine base stack period that will not change. Okay. So here they're saying they're hoping that they decrease the build time of the racks. They're hoping that this doesn't promote more proxy play. That's the hope here. I mean, sure. I would hope so as well. I would hope so as well. Specifically, this is once again going to slightly hurt mech. I say mech. Specifically, what this does, because the Academy build time has been okay. So they're saying that they're trying to compensate things, and this comment specifically is in regards to stim timings. They're like, okay, the racks takes less time, but the Academy takes more time, and overall it's still going to take the exact same amount of time. But what this really does is that this will be causing scans to come online a little bit later. So this is going to be punishing detection that much more for Terran, even though I think in one of the previous patches, like, they tried to address that for Terran specifically. Am I crazy? I need to quickly check. Was it 16.2? I could be seeing things. Oh yeah, right. That was when it came to the build cost. True. So that is going to impact detection slightly. Maybe not the biggest of deals. It is like 5 seconds, but every second does count. So that is going to be something impacted by this for sure. Likewise, when it comes to actually getting into stim as an upgrade, if it's something that you're trying to rush into. So yeah, interesting. That's just gonna be a byproduct of this, of course. It's gonna be a byproduct. Scrolling down, we have the armory. Armory increased research cost for vehicle plating level 2 and level 3 as well. With the siege tank back to its old strength in 1.15 and changes to the Wraith and Valkyrie to improve their overall utility, these upgrades, which were originally cheapened to make researching both ground and air upgrades easier, are reverted to their original cost. Okay, that's to compensate. Missiles are decreased armor from 1 to 0. This change is to further encourage the use of air units against mech play. Interesting. I wonder what happened in that one day, because we spoke about it, but for the previous patch just before this, they were the previous 2 patches even, they were trying to address specifically mech anti-air, right? Like, they had nerfed the Goliath range, and they had nerfed the Valkyrie as well, and just the amount of damage it does. But this is like kind of further pushing that here in regards to, I guess, the missile turret. Interesting. It's something that they're specifically concerned about, and they're wanting to push. If you remember, we spoke earlier about like trying to push for certain play and trying to make certain styles more viable. This feels like wanting to push like mutaplay specifically. Interesting. Scrolling down, Zerg changes. Spore Colony, decrease armor from 1 to 0 for the Spore. This change is to enable SG buy drops to find more opportunities for damage in the early and mid game. Okay. Interesting. I don't know how common. I rarely cast ZVZ nowadays in StarCraft Evolution. I wonder how common Mutaplay is. I mean, I can't imagine it really is, just because Hydras are so common for Brood War Zerg, so I can't imagine Mutaplay would be too common from SC2 Zerg side of things, so I don't think that's going to impact that too much. Often we don't see Oracles try to dive in and focus on Spore colonies. It's often not really seen. Okay, sure, interesting. And the Queen, increased spawn breeding range. Oh, we reverted the change. Okay, so we revert the Queen change. Since spawned broodlings is already cancelled if the Queen dies before the projectile reaches its target, reasonable counterplay to the ability already exists, and this range reduction is unnecessary. Interesting. Okay. So they felt that this was an unnecessary change earlier. Once again, like during this period with these during this 1 day period, we weren't casting much. So it's hard to say this period of time with these 3 patches. It's hard to say whether there's any kind of like value bit behind like any of these comments or any truth behind it. But sure, take it at its word. But yeah, once again, just like a small little amendment patch here. And I believe this was the last patch before the big event, before the championship. Interesting. And then we have the SE Evo, the re-entry log. Do you know what this is in regards to, Kuro? Is this separate?
So the entry log is basically was posted like for those who have not been keeping up with the patches, but they want to cast the championship. Like this is like the current state of the game, essentially, kind of thing.
Okay, interesting. I guess maybe there's value in going over this, just because again we haven't casted for like a month. But we'll see what they say. SE Evo completes 101 August 2025. Brutal and Soccer 2 racial stats. Soccer 2 races are practically unchanged from the current official Legacy of the Void versions. The only difference is that they have additional non-armor related tags. Brutal races are similar in overall feel and function, but regularly updated for balance and design. Yeah, this is like a tutorial. This is like it's like, hey, if you've never casted
like
StarCraft Evolution before, yeah. Okay, I see. This is almost like, it's almost like a cheat sheet. Like if there's like a caster who's never covered SEVA before, this is like things to discuss. But this, I do know there were some changes made to Mischance. In my mind, it was 50-50, but it looks like range attacks from ground units on low ground targeting any units on high ground will miss 46.875% of the time. I think I'm okay saying 50%. But sure, technically 46.875. Okay. Ground, melee, and all air units never miss. Okay. This is specifically for high ground, low ground. Meanwhile, line of sight blockers, bushes, doesn't even matter, even if they're in the same bush or in the air. Okay. Cool. Full play small map pings. This I wanted to clarify, just because I know they've played around with it a little bit. Pings are visible for 90 seconds. Casters can view which spawns have been revealed by selecting one of the units and holding V. Okay, so you have to check their vision specifically within those 90 seconds. Again, I'm pretty sure it was increased just for casters. Let's go. But something that isn't addressed here is that, if I'm not mistaken, Kuro, there was a patch recently which changed it so that instead of originally, if you remember, for a 4-player spawn map, they'd spawn in one of 2 locations and they would ping 2 locations. But then recently there was a patch that made it so that there was like a % chance of that even happening. Of the pings even occurring specifically. So it wasn't like 100% that would happen on a 4-player spawn map. But maybe they reverted that change. Maybe. Oh, thank you. We appreciate the kind words. Gracias, baby, gracias. Maps, modeling. Okay, all good. All good. So yeah, this is like a TLDR sort of thing. Nice. With that, that concludes our news for the week. Again, just going over the roster changes, the RSL fan votes, and of course StarCraft Evolution patch updates. Again, just blazing through 3 of these in a row. Again, we do apologize for not being as up to date with StarCraft Evolution. As we mentioned before, we've just been so engrossed with everything else, with all the other content, all the other StarCraft. Now that the championship has begun, we will be going over and delving back into StarCraft Evolution. That should be starting tomorrow. Tomorrow we should be, we already casted the CranKy Epic Series show match, but we should be covering the StarCraft Evolution Championship group stage, at least one of the groups tomorrow. Should be, emphasis on that. That should be tomorrow, and we should be able to delve further into it in the coming weeks. And likewise, we'll be going over some of those results later on today as well. For now, we're going to be going on a break. We're going to be going on a short break. Again, StarCraft Evolution, the championship is in full swing. I don't imagine we're going to be getting any additional patches until after the event. I'm sure the event itself is going to dictate how a lot of the races are performing and any changes that will be needing to occur. Again, a shout out to the team working behind the scenes on this event as well. Sorry, on the event on StarCraft Evolution, just because they are hoping and wanting to provide like the best game that they can, of course, by adjusting values, by making sure everything not just is balanced but also is fun to compete, fun to play, fun to watch as well. So again, best of luck to all those working behind the scenes at Team Krapulu, and really cool to see more model updates as well. For now, though, we're going to be going on a short break. When we come back, we will have our tournament results regarding the CranKy Epic Series, the Thermal 2v2 Circuit, StarCraft Evolution events, other amateur events, and other patch tournaments as well. There's a lot to get into. So we'll see you soon after the break with those tournament results. See you soon. welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the PondCast, episode 59. We just wrapped up with our news, with our topics of the week, and now we're here with tournament results. Here we go. As always, we've had so many tournaments taking place this week in StarCraft and in other adjacent StarCraft events as well, with modded tournaments, and that's what we're jumping into first. StarCraft Evolution results. We have the CranKy Epic series, which we did cover here on the channel a couple of days ago. We were actually making reference to this series when going over the patch notes, but we have a show match best of 9 between Tasia and Classic. If you missed it, we did cast it here on the channel alongside CranKy in Spanish and the SCC in Korean. So again, we did cover this event. It was a 5-0 in favor of Classic. Classic, I mean, for those who are unaware, I should also mention this. Tasia, if you didn't know, he is back. He is back to competing, has been back for over a month at this point. For over a month, has been back in StarCraft Evolution. Not in StarCraft 2. Not in StarCraft 2, only in StarCraft Evolution. And honestly, he's looking really good. He's looking really good. He's looking really in form. I would say he's around the upper echelons of Terran players in StarCraft Evolution. I would place Bjorn ahead of him. I think I might place Kiwin ahead of him as well. Maybe I haven't seen enough Spirit as of late. So, but maybe, yeah. Maybe Kiwi and above, and I place him around the level of Dice, of Hon Mono, of Bratok as well. Like, he's kind of in the middle to upper echelons of the Terran players out there. But Classic is the best. He's the best of the best. You can make an argument that right now, Classic, he is the best Protoss player in StarCraft 2 and in StarCraft Evolution. He did have higher placement compared to Hero, for example. Again, I did say you can make an argument because you could also make an argument for Hero as well, for being the best in both SC Evo and StarCraft 2, so you can make an argument for either one, but regardless, he is arguably the best Protoss player you can have. And CranKy was brutal, throwing Tasia at Classic. So Classic, he had a very dominant performance. We expected him to be the favorite player here. I will say that if you missed out on the games, I do recommend them because we had some really close games. Even though the scoreline is 5-0, Blue Storm was a banger. Blue Storm, for me, was the highlight of the event, of the show match. Likewise, we had some really close matches on some of the other maps as well. So I do recommend it. It's a lot of fun, especially if you are a Tasia fan from back in the day. You want to see some more Tasia action. He wasn't looking bad at all, despite the scoreline. Meanwhile, that leads us into the StarCraft Evolution League Masters number 5, Korea versus Russia. This was a bit of a nation war show match, pitting Koreans against Russians. I would say that these are the two biggest nations right now in StarCraft Evolution. I think it's the case in Brood War as well, by the way. Like, when it comes to the foreigners out there, I know there's a big Russian Brood War scene as well, and also a Latin American one. But for whatever reason, I would say that these are the two biggest nations right now in StarCraft Evolution. Russia and Korea. And we had our two respective teams. We had Bratok, Midovike, and Wayne for Team Russia. Meanwhile, for Team Korea, we had Creator, Gumiho, and Kiwian, TOP. Now, I'll be honest, I have not actually seen Gumiho in StarCraft Evolution. I do know that he's a part of this season's championship, but I don't know what his level is. So I don't know I don't know how I can rate Gumiho. Meanwhile, it looks like all kill formats. Looks like it was all wheel formats. Wayne took down Kiwian 1-0, took down Gumiho 1-0, and then Creator popped off. Now, we did actually go over some of Creator's results recently, and Creator has been actually getting some really good results in StarCraft Evolution. He takes on Wayne, takes on Bratok, he falls to Midovike, then he wins in the rematch, and then we have the revival match that Creator does win as well. So again, old school kind of WTL all-kill format. Really cool to see. Wayne beat Creator towards the end there, and again, congratulations to Wayne, as it went all the way to the ace match, went all the way to that revival match with Wayne and Creator going the distance, with Russia and Korea going the distance. In the end, did go the way of Team Russia. Congratulations to the foreigners for taking down Korea. Now, you could make an argument, of course, that this wasn't the strongest Korean team. As just mentioned, I don't know how I would rate Gumiho, and really this just turned into Creator versus Russia. Is what this turned into. But I don't know where to place Gumiho amongst the other Terran players. I think I'd place him relatively low just because of the inexperience that Gumiho has had. But really cool to see him taking part in the show match regardless. This is an event that we have not covered yet. It was covered by Steadfast, covered by Kiwian, covered by CranKy and some of the others. We might go over some of the replays ourselves instead if we ever have some free time. I mentioned earlier that right now we're missing a lot of StarCraft Evolution just because our schedule just didn't have the room for it, and moving forward I think that's going to continue to be the case as well, just because of everything else around the corner of Revival, StarCraft League, and Maestros of the game. We'll do our best, though. We'll do our best. I would love to get my hands on covering this event as well via replays. Heading on over, that leads us into the StarCraft Evolution Season 2 Championship. We've been discussing this quite a bit. We were all over the qualifiers, all over the main season, but now the championship is upon us. Now, unfortunately, we have not had the luxury to cover any of it. We did miss out on a day of casting, unfortunately, and we would have covered some of the events, but we've yet to really dip our toes into the round of 28. I think I was saying round of 36, but it's the round of 28. That was the first group stage, and here we have the results coming in. We had 6 groups. 6 groups of 4. We had Mana, 3-point, Magic Turtle, and Bratok facing off in Group A. In the end, we had Mana coming out in first place, 3-point in second. Very surprising. I do rate 3-point very highly. I would have rated 3-point above Mana, so if Mana's takedown 3.2-0 is a very impressive result here from Mana. Scoring down, we have Group B. We have Björn, Mixu, Prome, and Iceland. I would have rated Prome above Mixu, to be honest. I know that Prome, he devotes a lot of time to StarCraft Evolution, so I would have rated him above Mixu. In the end, we had Mixu falling to Björn, taking down Iceland 2-0, and taking down Prome 3-0. So big win there for Mixu. Very impressive play from our Finnish Zerg player as it comes out in second place. Scrolling over, we have Group C. Ooh, okay, this was a brutal group. Definitely, these are some of the groups that we wanted to cast. I did want to cast Group F, Group E, Group D, and we might still be going over some of these groups, but again, we have like a limited amount of time, especially with the round 16 this weekend, so we'll do our best. But here we had Rogue, Tasia, Midway, and Mang Russell. I would love to cover these matches just because I would love to know the form of Rogue. Seeing these results doesn't tell me enough. I want to see how he handled himself, especially when playing as Brood War. You can even see here, if you go further into the Group C matches, Rogue versus Mang Russell, you can see game 1 and game 3, Rogue played StarCraft 2, and Rogue he won. He won the games where he played SC2 Zerg. He lost the game where he played Brood War Zerg. So here in this series, because I do rate Mang Russell quite highly in StarCraft Evolution, Rogue his StarCraft 2 Zerg carried him. And that is something that you can do for sure in these SC Evo tournaments, especially if you're unfamiliar with StarCraft Evolution. You can just rely on your SC2 skills, and that can carry you in a series, in a best of. So in the end, Rogue did claim the series, again, just winning with SC2 Zerg. Meanwhile, Tasia took down Midway, Rogue took down Tasia. Also, quickly looking at this series, Rogue versus Tasia, if you go further into it, you can see game 1 and game 3, Rogue played SC2. He played SC2 Zerg, and the one game that he lost, he played all games actually. If you look at that, every game he was playing SC2 Zerg, he never had to rely on Brood War Zerg. He did lose a game against Tasia in game 2, very impressive by Tasia, but Rogue, he makes it through in first place, purely off of SC2 Zerg. God damn it. Scoring down, we had Midway. Midway took down Mang Russell 2-1. That's a big, impressive win there for Midway. And then Tasia took down Midway 3-1 in the end. So Tasia and Rogue, they make it on through. Again, I'm curious to see how Rogue does in this tournament, just because he made it through the group stage purely off of his SC2 Zerg play. Eventually, especially in longer series, he will be forced to play Brood War Zerg. We'll see how he can handle himself. Going down to Group D, I would also echo those sentiments with Cure, because Cure, just like Rogue, is a player that does not play StarCraft Evolution. Cure, Rogue, Gumiho are all very inexperienced. Creator has a little bit more matches under his belt, so he's a little bit more experienced with this. We even saw him in the previous Nation War show match. But here in Group D, before we get ahead of ourselves, we have Cure. Cure takes down Young Yakov 2-0. And yep, if you look at the series, looks like, it says here game 1, S2 versus Brood War. Was it the same in game 2? I can't confirm. I cannot confirm. But Kira did win the series 2-0. Milky Cow over Rebellion 2-1. Kira over Milky Cow 2-1. Oh, went to the ace match here. Okay. Game 2, the one game that Kira lost, he played Brood War. The 2 games that he won, he played SC2. So Kira, again, he relied on his StarCraft 2 to beat Milky Cow to make it out in first place. Scoring down, Rebellion takes on Young Yakov 2-1. Big win there for Rebellion. And Rebellion takes on Milky Cow. I rate Milky Cow quite highly in this game mode. Not gonna lie, in StarCraft Evolution, like Milky Cow, he's achieved quite a lot. He's looking really good, but he's already out of the tournament. Ooh, feels bad, man. So Rebellion takes down Milky Car 3-1. Impressive win there by Rebellion. This is another one of these groups that looks really, really close and really intense. Like, I rate them all quite highly when it comes to Brood War, except for Kira, of course. So I'd be really curious to see those matches. A lot of them went to the ace match. A lot of them did go to the ace match. Heading on over, we have Group E. This also looks like a really fun group. We had Creator. Creator takes down GG Machine 2-0. Creator, he won with SE2 and with Brood War. Again, Creator, he has more experience with Brood War, so with Brood War Protoss in StarCraft Evolution. So again, he is one of the players that I'm less concerned by. Again, my eyes are mainly on Rogue, Kira, and Gumiho when it comes to how they perform with Brood War. But Kira takes down GG Machine. Honmono takes down Wayne. Creator takes down Honmono. Creator making it out in first place, doesn't drop a single map. Wayne eliminates GG Machine, and then Honmono takes down Wayne to qualify. Ooh, my condolences to Wayne. Again, I would say that Wayne, he's one of the best Zerg players in StarCraft Evolution. Like, I think I would rate him higher than Rumiath. Like, when I think of the Zerg players in SE Evo, I think of 3 points. I thought of Dark, not anymore. I think of Shin. I think Shin must have been seated further in. Yeah. I think of 3 point. I think of Shin. And then I think of Wayne. Like, I think I would place Wayne as top 3 Zerg in StarCraft Evolution. I place him above Mixu, and I think I would place him above Rumiath. Maybe I'm out of line saying he would be above Rumiath. I know that Rumiath did have some really good results in the StarCraft Evolution Masters previous events, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn in regards to Rumiath. But regardless, like, I rate Wayne quite highly, and he did not make it out of the group in the first round. Brutal result there for Wayne. Good result. Heading over to Group F, we have Gumiho, Rumiath, Skillus, and the STC. Ooh, here I had a lot of faith in Skillus, not gonna lie, and it was a close one. Like, in my mind, I rate Skillus over Rumiath, but here we had Gumiho takes down the STC 2-0. We had Rumiath taking down Skillus 2-0. Very impressive there by Rumiath. Meanwhile, we had Gumiho. Gumiho, hey, he won games with Brood War Terran. Let's go. Won games with Brood War Terran. He beat the STC. He beat Rumiath to qualify in first place. Skillus took down the STC, and you can see here the final series went all the way to the ace match. Rumiath and Skillus went all the way to game 5. Very close, very intense. In the end, barely went the way of Rumiath. Again, I didn't get to see any of these games, any of these matches. I would have loved to have seen that best of 5. Congratulations to Rumiath as he does edge it out over Skillus. GG. GG, well played. And with that, we have our confirmed round of 16. We have our confirmed groups. We have Group A, Shin, Tasia, Mana, and Mixu. Shin, he was already seeded into this stage ahead of time. The others did come in from the previous group stage. This is going to be an interesting one. I will say that Mixu, in my eyes, is the weakest link. I don't know how to rate Mana. A lot of this, again, I wish I had the time to cover these events. I would love to see how Mana played in Group A. If he could beat 3 point there, Mana, he might have a good showing against Shin. Like, like, in my eyes, like, Shin 3 points. Like, Shin is still, I would say, the best Zerg player in StarCraft Evolution for sure. But I don't know if the gap between Shin and 3 point is that high. Maybe it is. But yeah, like, this is a harder one to call. I want to say Shin, Tasia make it out of Group A, but Mana, he can pop off. He can always pop off in StarCraft 2. StarCraft Evolution, I'd say the same. So Mana can definitely pop off as well. It's going to be an interesting battle there for top 2. Again, I do feel like Mixu is kind of the weakest link there, but best of luck to Mixu. Heading on over to Group B. Oh my god. 3 points surrounded by Terran. Oh god, this is a brutal group. Kiwi and Bjorn, Gumiho, and 3 points. Interesting. Once again, I'm curious to see this group, just because I don't know how to rate Gumiho right now. Bjorn, in my eyes, is the best Terran player in StarCraft Evolution currently, but with the introduction of players like Gumiho and Cure, who are playing for the first time, how do they compare? Do they play it much? Can they rely on just purely SE2, and can that carry them through the groups again? Possibly. It might carry them again, maybe not. So best of luck here to the players. Again, Bjorn and Kiwian are going to be playing in that first round, and Gumiho and 3 points thereafter. Who do I feel like will make it out? I feel like Bjorn should be a sure thing to make it through the group, just because of how much time he dedicates to StarCraft Evolution, just because he plays in so many of the tournaments. In second place, in my eyes, can I see Kiwian defeating Gumiho? If it's hard to call. I just don't know how to rate Gumiho right now. Maybe Gumiho, maybe Byeon and Gumiho, or Byeon and 3 points in my eyes. But again, Kiwin is a really good player as well. It's a hard one. I feel like Group B is definitely going to be a harder one to call. Group C, we have Classic, Homono, Cure, and Rumieth. Oh boy, Classic, he'll make it through. Classic, I mentioned before, he is the best Protoss player in StarCraft Evolution. I just realized as well that Hero was not invited, or he didn't accept the invites. A little bit of a shame. Hero, he might be on vacation a little bit, but yeah, it is a shame to see that that Hero has not made it through, or is not a part of the event, just because Hero looked like a beast in his show match. Like Hero, he's played StarCraft Evolution before, and he's looking like an animal. So it would have been great to have seen him here, but it looks like Hero either didn't accept or he wasn't invited. So unfortunately, there's no Hero here. But Classic, like he is the best Protoss in, I would say, in the tournaments, straight up, 100%. So he should be making it through. Alongside him, who's going to advance on? Cure has been relying heavily on his SC2 performance, so if Cure can get away with it, maybe he'll make it through. I feel like Homono is probably the weakest link here, kind of like Mixu in Group A. I feel like Homono is going to have a harder time. Rumieth, if you recall, I was rating Wayne over Rumieth previously, but hey, maybe I was underestimating Rumieth, and maybe he can pop off as well. In my eyes, he's a bit of a darker horse here, so I'm leaning towards Classic and Cure, maybe Classic and Rumieth. I'm looking forward to see how Rumieth handles himself in that group. Scrolling down to Group D, we do have Spirit, Creator, Rogue, and Rebellion. Now, if you remember, at the start of the year, for the first 3 months of 2025, I was rating Spirit very highly. Spirit, he was playing in all things StarCraft Evolution. But once the EWC circuit was announced, Spirit, he stopped competing. He just stopped playing in SE Evo, and he focused entirely on StarCraft 2. So we have seen less and less of Spirit as of late in StarCraft Evolution. So because of that, I don't know how much faith I can put in Spirit here. If you were casting Spirit at the start of the year, I'd say he has a good chance, a good shot at making it out. Again, I want to say it was December of last year, January, where he was the best Terran in StarCraft Evolution, just because Byeon wasn't competing. Byeon, he didn't start until a little bit later. So I was rating Spirit really highly, but now coming in, we're almost through the year at this point, and Spirit has been playing less StarCraft 2 and less StarCraft Evolution, so I'm leaning more towards Creator. I think Creator's been impressing me with his results as of late, and maybe Rogue. We'll see if he can get away with relying on StarCraft 2 again. But we'll see. Like my expectations for Spirit are a lot lower here, despite his performance and dominance in the previous championship. For this one, I'm a little bit less on that Spirit hype train. But hey, maybe he'll pop off. Maybe he'll surprise. I hope so. I do hope so. So again, we have our 4 groups. When it comes to coverage, this event is going to be in 2 days' time, and I would love to cover it. But I believe there are some scheduling conflicts with other events that we're casting ourselves, like our amateur tournaments. Checking this weekend, like MSO and Sparkling Tuna Cup as well. I might be able to catch the tail end of some of these groups. Otherwise, we're going to have to rely on replay casts. Now, we missed out on the majority of the round of 28. I do apologize for that when it comes to replay coverage, just because we've had no time. But for the round 16, can we fit in 4 casts? I'll do my best. I'll do my best to fit in 4 replay casts of the round of 16 throughout the course of the coming week. This will be taking place over the weekend. I'll do my best to cover it throughout the week itself. No big promises. As I mentioned before, right now, this channel was almost built on casting StarCraft all day, every day, twice a day, every single day. But in recent times, I have had less free time. I've had less free time to cast, less free time to cover. My schedule has been a lot tighter as of late, and yeah, because of that, I don't know if I can commit as hard. I will try, though. I will try to at least dedicate myself to the round of 16 and to the playoffs as well. Not for live coverage, but for replay coverage at least. That is my hope. Regardless, if you want to watch this live, I believe it's going to be covered by Steadfast, by some of these other English casters out there. It's going to be casted in Spanish, of course, by Enki, in Korean, of course, in Russian, and some of the other languages. And again, we might be able to do a little bit of it ourselves. Big maybe on that one, though. Big maybe. No promises when it comes to live coverage, but I do try to promise for at least replay coverage throughout the course of the week. Bearing in mind that all the groups are happening at the same time, so it's going to be difficult to cover everything live anyway. But we'll do our best. We will do our best. And meanwhile, that leads us into the Patches Patch Clash number 4. Now, this, speaking of patches and speaking of mods, Patches has created his own balance mod. Not designed for balance, designed for fun. It's got a lot of really weird quirks. We did cast the 5.4K edition earlier this morning. It's a crazy event. It is a crazy, crazy tournament. And, just for a bit of a glimpse of some of the changes, he reworked the Infestor entirely. The Infestor now can make Infested Terrans, but when they produce them, it's almost like a Reaver, where the Reaver builds up Scarabs inside itself. Here, you build up 3 Infested Terran inside yourself and inside the Infestor, and they're permanent units and not timed units, so you can just use it to build Infested Terran, which is crazy, by the way. And it in itself is its own unique kind of stats and unique kind of unit itself. Other changes were other meaningful changes were he removed adaptive talons for the Lurker, so the Lurker is less mobile. The Ghost can no longer be interrupted when it snipes, so there's less counterplay against Ghosts. But the Ghost snipe, it's a little bit easier to break that, to pull away from it, I should say, to run away from the snipe and to break it. I believe the leash range is a little bit shorter. I think it went from 20 to 16, if I'm not mistaken. It went down by 4. So it's a little bit shorter, so you can break that a little bit easier if you run away. So there's a very different dynamic happening there. He added so many new upgrades. There's an upgrade that does reduce the splash damage of a siege tank, so the siege tank does less splash damage. The armory provides cloaked widow mines, so you don't need drilling claws for that. You just need the armory once again. Other changes that come to mind, I believe the mothership can be abducted, but only 50% of the way. so the Viper abducts it a little bit closer to you, not fully. That was another change. There is a charge upgrade, so you have regular charge. Charge was reworked, and charge now you can target on the ground, which means you can charge forward even if there isn't a unit in front of you, and you can charge away, of course. You can use charge to escape and to run away as well, because you can target the ground. There's another upgrade which does, I think it regenerates the Zealots' shields by 20 on a successful charge. Like, that's like a late game upgrade. There's an upgrade for the Ultra, where the Ultra does more damage to buildings, so then SimCity becomes less effective because Ultras can now actually attack and break down bunkers and depots a lot easier, and planetaries as well. So there's an upgrade for the Ultras. There's all these crazy upgrades like that. Tech labs and reactors can be salvaged. There's a lot of changes. I will say, based on the changes, and I just glossed over it, there's so much more. I think there's like a late game Stalker upgrade where you can increase Stalker range by 1. There's also he reworked the Dark Templar, and the Dark Templar, they're only cloaked if they have full shields. So if a Dark Templar takes some damage, then they're no longer cloaked. On top of that, he reworked warp, the warping mechanic, where when you warp in a unit, it only has full shields if it's warped in with a gateway. If you warp in with a pylon, then it doesn't have full shields. On top of that, if you warp in with a warp gate, it also warps in with 0 shields. So if you warp in with a naked pylon, the unit has 0 shields. If you warp in with a warp prism, unit also has 0 shields. It needs a gateway, which I feel like is a step too far, specifically when it comes to warp prism harass. He wanted to completely kill warp prism harass, essentially. Like, there's so many crazy changes like that. Fun fact, because of that, there was a game where we had a player go into DTs and proxy a pylon, and he warped in the DTs, and because they warped in without any shields, they weren't cloaked, and they just died. like there's some crazy interactions like that. So it's a crazy patch. There's a lot of different changes. Some of them are interesting, some of them maybe a step too far, some of them maybe a step not far enough. But as I mentioned, just to reiterate, the patch that he made, the mod that he made, it's less about balance and more about like crazy changes like that. And I think he added like a repair drone for the Raven, and he got rid of the anti-armor missile. There's just so many changes that were made. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of changes were made. Meanwhile, we have the patch clash number 4, which is the tournaments forcing the players to play on the mod, of course, and it was double elimination. Geralt, he got knocked out early by Honmono, but he worked his way back through, taking down R, taking down Honmono, taking down Special, and takes down Mixu 3-2 in the finals, claiming the win. GG, well played, very impressive play there by Geralt. Now, what I will say, okay, saying this patches, he reached out and he was like, hey, do you want to cover like the 5.4k tournament? The reason why there's a 5.4k tournament is because he said that a lot of the pro players don't actually use the new upgrades, they don't actually make use of some of the new changes, and they just play it as they normally do, and they just ignore the patch. It's like, oh, like they play on the patch, but they just ignore a lot of the other changes, and they just play how they did. So patches, he was a little bit disappointed with this pro edition of the tournament, and that leads us into the 5.4k edition, which is like low GM. Oh, the Wikipedia page has not been updated.
Yeah, I want to add a quick note here. If any of you guys that are watching this and you are awake at NA hours, tournaments like this need your help. You could be there to edit it. It doesn't have to be live. You can edit it after the fact, but I am not awake at those hours, so I could not update the Wikipedia. But it's actually really simple, so if you want to help out, this is your chance.
There you go. Yeah, Wikipedia is open to anyone adding these changes and providing these score lines and these results. So it's accessible to anyone out there. That is true. When it comes to the event itself, we saw Inexorable popping off. I actually did have a brief interview with Inexorable afterwards, but he took down Sodavlad. He 2-0'd Mixu. He 2-0'd Nina. He 3-0'd Mixu, and he just won the entire tournament without dropping a single map. So I had an interview with Inexorable afterwards. Now, also, this is for 5.4k players. Some of the players here are greater than 5.4k, like Mixu, like Nina. They off-raced. To compensate, they off-raced. Nina was playing Zerg, and Mixu was playing Terran. So Mixu and Nina were off-racing, and in the end, Inexorable did claim the win. Again, he is a Terran main, did play Terran. And I did have an interview with him, I did ask him about it, and he was like, yo, Terran is pretty strong in this patch. And based on what we saw, I would agree. Specifically what was happening in a lot of these matches, I can speak mainly on the TVZ that was occurring. He said that Terran is feeling really, really strong against Protoss in this patch. But when it came to the dynamic between TVZ, obviously Nina's not as prolific with her Zerg as she is with Protoss, of course. But we did see a really kind of rough dynamic between Lingbane Hydra Lurker versus Bio Terran, just because of certain changes that I just mentioned, coinciding with each other. With the Ghost not being able to be interrupted with their snipe, it does make the Ghost so much more efficient, so much more powerful. As I mentioned before, there's less counterplay because you cannot deny the snipe anymore. I said that to counteract that, they did make it a little bit easier to break the snipe if you run away from the units, if you get out of range of the Ghost. That is true, but another change that occurred, if you remember, was Lurkers no longer have adaptive talons. Lurkers were made less mobile. Because the Lurkers are made less mobile, they cannot actually uproot and get and scuttle away in time, so Ghost just dominated Lingbane Hydra Lurker. Like it was crazy. Like Nina had a very hard time. Nina was up like 50 supply, by the way. Like there was a game on Pylon that they had where I thought that Nina had it in the bag. Nina was looking strong, and then Inexorable got into Ghost production, and then you can spam that Ghost copy pasta meme even harder for the for this mod because Inexorable had a very fun time making use of those Ghosts and dominating those Lurkers, just because there was no way to stop the snipes like there would be previously. The Ghost would be like getting fungled, for example, and then it just wouldn't do anything. So yeah, he was feeling pretty good about it. He himself said that like Terran's feeling really strong in the mod. But as I mentioned, this mod is more for fun, less so about balance, for example. So it's not the biggest of deals. It's more like a sandbox, more like a testing ground for all these weird changes and these weird upgrades and all this other stuff. So yeah, it was really fun to cover, really interesting to go through as well. Obviously, there were a lot of other dynamics as well. And I even had like the Google Doc open while I was casting, just so I could quickly double check like the effects of an upgrade or how certain units have been changed as well. I missed it. One of the big upgrade changes was an upgrade was added that it's a late game hive upgrade. I think it's an infestation bit upgrade that allows the roach to be one supply. Which was crazy, by the way. So because of that, Nina was able to get one supply roaches against Mixu. Remember, Mixu was playing Terran, was playing Mech, and Nina, I remember she was maxed out 200 supply. The upgrade kicked in, and she was playing Mass Roach against Mech, and bam, she had 50 free supply. She instantly just 50 free supply. She made a massive wave of roaches to reinforce, and then just overran with pure roach. It was crazy against Mixu. That upgrade looks crazy, and I don't think it'd be healthy for the game. Specifically, in my mind, I was thinking of we never go to ZVZ in this tournament, of course. Why would we? The Zerg players are a rare sight. But if we did, I was most concerned about Roach versus Roach in ZVZ, just because if an upgrade like that did exist, there'd be less incentive, or potentially less incentive and less reason in ZVZ for a player to tech up into Hydra Lurker, and instead they might just commit and double down into pure Roach and tech up into the infestation bit, get the one supply upgrade, and just commit even further to just mass Roach anyway, and that might be an issue. That's what I was expressing, is that an upgrade like that probably wouldn't be healthy for ZVZ as well, specifically. In other case scenarios, I don't really see it being too much of an issue. Remember, it's an infestation bit upgrade. I don't really see it being an issue against Protoss. Like, roaches in general, they don't really scale too well against Protoss. Even if that upgrade were to occur, like, getting to that point, I didn't see that being too viable against Protoss. We saw it against Mech. I think that's probably its best case use is going to be against Mech. I don't really see it's doing too well against bio or biocentric style, just because roaches can be abused quite heavily. But I'm not too certain about that. I can maybe see it working against bio with a roach based opener. Instead of roaches taking up into ultras, maybe roach into more roach. Maybe it's something to be tested. But in general, I'm not too fond of the upgrade. I'll be honest. I'm not too. It's a fun idea, but I don't think the implications are a good thing. I don't know if we want to incentivize roaches and then mass roach specifically. Like, we're trying to move away from that sort of thing, I feel. But congratulations to Inexorable, as it has claimed the 5.4k edition of the tournament. Congratulations. That leads us into the amateur weeklies. The amateur weeklies number 135 for the initiates version. This is for players between the leagues of Bronze and Platinum. I should quickly reiterate, this is a weekly tournament series where they do host a weekly for Bronze to Platinum, Diamond 3 to Diamond 2, Diamond 1 to Masters 2, and so on and so forth. There's no money on the line, but there are points on the line. It's just a tournament series that has been made to allow players to compete against each other in a bracket format like this. There's, of course, money on the line for like the end of season finals that they do host. And for this weekly, we had Flesh. Flesh, not a player that I'm too familiar with, takes down Jackals, does fall to Milo, but does actually get his revenge over Milo in the finals, 3-1. GG. Congratulations here to Flesh, again, for the Bronze to Platinum edition of the weeklies. That leads us into the Veteran edition, which is Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. Here we have Nelson. Nelson, a player that we have casted before in our own Diamond tournaments. Nelson, he does fall to Balimko in the upper bracket finals, does fall down, does win in the rematch though, 2 tournaments in a row. What I mean by that, the previous Bronze to Platinum, this edition as well, the player does get the win in the revenge match. Nelson takes down Balimko 3-2 in the finals. GG. Very impressive win there. Very impressive win. Very impressive results. That leads us into the Prestige tournament. This is for those between the leagues of Diamond 1 and Masters 2. Here we had Wise Man, a player that we've casted, that we've seen before, and I think I've seen him in other amateur tournaments in years past. But Wise Man takes down Anatar 2-0 and takes down Anatar 3-0 in the finals. Doesn't lose a single game. Oh my god, Esther Wise Man. Very impressive play. Wise Man does claim the win, does take it in the end. Congratulations. That leads us into the Elite tournament where we had 2 players. A walkover. Cobblestone gets the walkover win. I mentioned this before, I mentioned it again. For the M1/GM edition of this tournament, there's rarely any participation. The reason for this is because typically if you're at this level, if you're at the GM/Pro level, you're competing in tournaments that provide prize money. You're not competing in tournaments like this where it's only points and it's more for the experience than anything. typically these players that are eligible for this are competing in actual like bigger tournaments. So it's a little bit unfortunate. They have less incentive to compete in this, and as a result, they rarely ever do play. But that leads us into the CSO number 43 Contender Edition. Not the regular weekly, but Contender, which I believe is also MMR restricted, if I'm not mistaken. As this is a monthly tournament. Yes, this is for players that are 4.4k MMR and below. Okay, so that's around M3, around like Masters 3 level. Here we had Zistem. We had Zistem taking down Anatar 2-1, takes down Nectari 2-1, and takes down Arthrox 3-1 as well. Impressive play there by System. Not a player that I'm familiar with. There are some players that I see, like Anatar, like Arthrox as well. Blade, I see Elaine, true, the Mexican Zerg player. I see Bullock Jr. as well, and Choi Galaxy. So there's a couple of players, Reciprocity. A couple of players that I'm familiar with, but I'm not familiar with System. So congratulations. Congratulations to System, as it does claim the win here in the end. Oh, 3-1. 3-1. Congratulations. And yeah, we don't often, I'll be honest, I haven't seen the CSO Contender in quite some time, so really cool to see it once again. Really cool to see it again. That leads us into the Passioncraft Emerging Stars number 29. This is MR restricted to those that are 5.5k MR and below. And hey, there's Inexorable. He won the previous patch clash, but here he does fall to F2 Click. And F2 Click takes down Kamikaze in the finals, 3-2. Very impressive. Yo, he goes through all the Brazilians. All the Latin Americans, actually. He beat Daryl in the first round, then Inexorable, then Kamikaze. So went through all the Latin Americans to claim the win in the end. Congratulations to F2 Click for claiming the win, for being this week's Passioncraft Emerging Star Champion. Congratulations here to F2 Click. That leads us into the Collegiate World Championship. If you remember, we announced the kind of like the qualifiers coming out for this event, and we did take note of that, or the sign-up list, I should say, for the event, and looks like we've had some matches ongoing, or it looks like they've maybe just begun. Hold on. This might just not be updated. Let's check out the... no, yeah, it is updated. Okay, it is updated. So it looks like we have confirmed groups. I can say that at least. Looks like we have confirmed groups. A lot of players here. A lot of players you should be familiar with. Now, remember, to be eligible to compete in this tournament, you have to be studying. You have to be in a university, in a college. You have to be in the middle of your studies in some way, shape, or form. So that is the prerequisite to compete in this tournament. So who do we have? We have Jay, Fiant, Inexorable, Soil, and Azarel in Group A. My favorite players here are going to be Fiant and Inexorable, for sure. They are the two biggest names, and they're going to be favored to make it out of Group A. So best of luck to all the other competitors here, as there's a lot of Canadian representation in Group A. Group B, ooh, we have some bigger names. We have Sebestes, Azura, Cobblestone, Patches, and Blade. I'm familiar with every single one. Blade, he's more of an amateur player. Actually, Blade, he just played in the CSO Contender. In the previous bracket, he was there. He was there. So this is a more notable group. Oh my god. Coming into this, Sebestes and Azura are the heavy favorites, for sure. They are the two favorite players. But Cobblestone and Patches and Blade are notable in their own way, and hopefully they can put up a good showing and put up a good show. So best of luck. Heading over to Group C, we have UD Soldier, we have Guitar King, Anticore, Jackie, and XY Fans. Coming into this, I would say that UD Soldier and Anticore are favored. Guitar King, I could see maybe causing an upset. He's a Protoss player from Lithuania. I think I have seen him have some decent results in the past as well. So best of luck. For the most part, though, UD Soldier and Anticore are going to be favored. Heading on over to Group D, we have Jingming, we have Nisho, we have Wingit, Robert Toak, and Wheelbug. Also, that's Jackie. That's our Jackie. That's Pleiades. That's
But
who's the other one?
It says Australia. No.
Yeah, I think he's from Vietnam, living in Australia.
Okay.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's someone. Maybe it's someone else.
Another Jackie.
Maybe it's another Jackie. God damn it. Yeah. We have Xingming, Nisho, Wingit, Robert, and Wheelbug. Here, I would say Xingming is probably the favorite player. We've casted him in the past. Nisho, I'm unfamiliar with. I'm not very familiar with Nisho, so I don't really know what to expect. But apparently he's on Bing Bong Exports, so I guess tentatively I'll say they're the two favorite players. But again, I haven't seen Nisho compete before, so I'm not too certain. Heading over, we have Group E. We have Hydra, Greenert, Winters, Monta, Yorbro, Chris, ADG, Adgiliup, and Chunk as well. A lot of players I'm less familiar with. Briefly glossing over it, I would assume that Hydra and Greenert are favored there. They're both GMs in their own rights. But some of these others, I don't really know what to expect of. So best of luck. Best of luck to everyone involved, but Hydra Greenert in my eyes is going to be favored. Heading on over to Group F, we have Akedon, we have Sig, we have Timo, we have Triple H, we have Nothing's Perfect, and Cybertron. This is going to be an interesting one. Akedon has been getting some really good results as of late. He's been popping off. Like, he's been looking like a beast. He beat Estrella as of late. Estrella off racing, true, but he still beat Estrella. Sig is also an upcoming player from Sweden. I rate him quite highly. Triple H also has been getting some really good results over in the Chinese region. So is this the group of death? Maybe. Like, for a lot of these other groups, there are like two clear players that are above all the rest, in my eyes. Like, you can make an argument maybe for Group B, but for Group F, like, I would say that Akedon, Sig, and Triple H, they can go either way. They can go either way there, those three players. So, best of luck to all those involved. Group G, we have Lorimbo. Does Lorimbo not have a Wikipedia page? No shot.
Yeah,
Lorimbo
is actually an entirely stream personality, which is hilarious. He does not have like enough results to have a Wikipedia page, as far as I know.
I don't believe you. He's played in a lot of all things Pro Tournaments.
He is everywhere. He just does not have the results to be on Wikipedia. You know?
He should. I'm gonna advocate right now for Lorimbo. He should have a Wikipedia page. What's going on? I'm looking at you, Cynical. He's one of your boys. He's from Italy. What's happening? Este Cynical. Este Lorimbo. So that is a crime that he does not have a Wikipedia page. We have Lorimbo, we have Hacker's Top, we have Benny, we have Draco, we have Demaccio, and we have Bobek as well. This is an interesting one. I lean towards Lorimbo and Hacker is top for the top two, but best of luck to everyone else. I'm not familiar with Benny. How does Benny have a Wikipedia page and Lorimbo does not? So what's happening right now? What's happening? SMH. Apparently he played in the Goose Duckling Team League. Let's go.
What? Hold on.
You heard me. He played in the Goose Duckling Team League. He came second.
Looks like we have some investigation to do.
Yes. I think that might have been a parody on us, by the way. Apparently, it was casted by Dave and Takwa, and it's an offshoot of the Vulcan Cup. Okay, interesting. SMH. But that leads us into Group H. Group H: Gunner, Magnath, Fifth Rom, Roman de Mold, Capote, and Romantic. Oh, here we go. Likewise, Gunner and Magnath are going to be favored there. I think in general, they've done a great job at spreading out the bigger names. I think for the most part, there's like two notables, like two big notables in each group, and only two are meant to make it out of the groups. So there's nothing that's too overly stacked. As I mentioned before, like Group F in my mind is a little bit more up in the air, just because I rate Triple H quite highly. But I'd be excited to see how he compares to Stig and how he compares to Akedon as well. Likewise, Group B has more notables, that is true, but I would say that there is a bit of a skill gap between Cobblestone Patch's Blade and Azura and Sebestis. Like, Azura and Sebestis, I feel like they're still a cut above the rest, but it looks like an exciting group nonetheless. Looks exciting. So best of luck to all the players. Again, there's a lot of money on the line here. It is $1,000 USD prize pool, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Going to be a lot of fun. Apparently sponsored by Rotterdam, sponsored by Allison, and some of the others out there as well. So really cool to see. Best of luck to all the players involved. Hope you're all committed to your studies, of course, and hope you're all able to commit to even more as well in that tournament. Best of luck. That leads us into the Thermal 2v2 Circuit main event. Now, this was covered by Thermal, covered by Steadfast. The group stage was covered by Wardy. We already went over the group stage previously, and now we have the playoff brackets. We do have Max, and Spirit. We have Trigger, Showtime, Euthermal, Shameless, Jumi, Young Yakov, Gigi Machine, Lambo, Cyril, and a Laser. We had the playoff teams. Oh boy. Now we were working behind the scenes on this event. We were not casting the event ourselves here on the CranKy Ducklings, but that's why we weren't casting it, just because we were focusing on running the event instead. And again, it was like a shout to, of course, Kura for putting in a lot of work as well, especially because this was at a more European-friendly time, and especially for the final day, I went to bed, baby, went to bed. But coming into this, Max Pax and Spirit, they were the #1 seed. We spoke about it in the lead-up last week, if you remember. Max Pax and Spirit, because of their performances in the group stage, they actually found each other. And Max Pax and Spirit, they are the best 2v2 team in the world. Straight up. 100%. Like there is no doubt in anyone's mind. They are the best 2v2 team in the world. So because they found each other as a pairing in the playoffs was brutal. They were the ones to win. We were looking to see if anyone could stop them. Likewise, Jimmy and Young Yakov, they're the other team that actually found themselves, and they're also a very strong team as well. The others were paired up with players that they may be a little bit less familiar with, referring to Trigger, Showtime, Euthermal, Shameless, alongside The Machine, Lambert, and Cyril and Laser. Going over the results, Max, Pax, and Spirit, they were able to take down Trigger, Showtime 3-1. They took down Jimmy and Young Yakov 3-1 as well. Jimmy and Yakov did take down Euthermal and Shameless. And in the end, we had Max, Pax, and Spirit claiming the win and becoming, and of course, confirming something that we always knew, is that they are the best 2v2 team in the world. They take down Trigger and Showtime in the grand finals 4-1. GG, well played. That is a bit of a surprise in the sense that Trigger and Showtime, they had a deep run. Checking the lower bracket, Trigger, Showtime, they took down G Machine and Lambert 3-2. They almost got a lot of ace matches, pure ace matches in lower bracket. You love to see it. Very, very close series. Trigger, Showtime, G Machine and Lambert, they went all the way to the ace match together. Then they went up against Cyril and Laser. They also went all the way to the ace match. Then they went up against Young Yakov and Jimmy, also going all the way to the ace match. Looks like Trigger did play Terran at times. So Trigger, he was mixing it up a little bit. Again, typically double Protoss is less than ideal. And yep, if you look at G Machine and Lambert, they also were race switching and changing things up. I say double Protoss are less than ideal. Typically, double same race teams are less than ideal. So double Protoss, double Zerg, double Terran are typically considered to be weaker. Just weaker races and weaker pairings. So we saw that Trigger was being a little bit more versatile in his play. He'll switch into Terran multiple times in this tournament just to be able to accommodate his teammates a little bit better. So GG, well played. But in the end, Max, Pax, and Spirit, they do still claim the win. But a shout out to Trigger and Showtime for making it all the way. And again, we could have seen a different pairing in the finals, right? Because there were so many ace matches, we could have seen Cyril and Laser, we could have seen Jimmy and Yakov, could have seen G Machine and Lambert. Really cool to see how close the competition was in that lower bracket. But no one could stop Max, Pax, and Spirit. Again, they are the best 2v2 team in the world. We knew that coming into the event, and now we confirm that with the end of the championship. Congratulations. At no point were they ever stopped in the weeklies or the monthlies. They've won every tournament that they played in. That continues to be the case. Crazy, puppy, crazy.
Right, but you know what was the most shocking thing about this entire playoffs bracket? We got to see Rascallion.
Oh, let's go! Let's go!
In the finals, in the very final series of the event, we actually got Rascallion into the map order.
Is that the one and only time we ever got Rascallion played?
The only time this map was played the entire tournament.
That's good. There was a meme between the admins, by the way, because of the veto process. There were 2 maps that never got played in the group stage, but they finally got played once. That was, I believe, was it Breakwater? It was either Breakwater or Undercurrent. It was one of those 2 maps that only got played once. Breakwater, there we go. Breakwater only got played once in the group stage, only once in the group stage, and Rascallion never got played. Never got played in the group stage. So coming into the playoffs, we were curious if that was going to happen, if that trend was going to continue. But it looks like we did get Rascallion played once in the entire tournament, just the once in the finals, but we got it. Let's go, let's go. Beautiful. So again, it was a massive prize pool. On top of that, shout out to all the streamers as well. We already went over it last week, but there was an incentive for players to stream their POVs during the group stage, and it was a lot of fun. We posted some clips on Reddit as well, especially when Jimmy was playing with Cyril, so it was a lot of good fun. A lot of memes were had. Some players, they were only doing it just for the money, for sure. There were definitely players that were not interacting with their chats at all, and they were just live just to qualify for the streamer bonus.
I mean, the best part was when one of them asked me, "Okay, so I streamed 5 series, I can go now, right?"
Yeah, pretty much. They would just cut the stream immediately. So there were some that they were only there for the money, but there were others that they were having fun with it. They were actually putting on a show and interacting with their chat and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun nonetheless. A lot of fun nonetheless, and really cool that Euthermal had that incentive. And with that, I know that Euthermal is quite happy with the event itself. And will we get another? Will we get another circuit? When it comes to the future of the 2v2 formats, I mean, the big thing around the corner that I'm sure that Euthermal's going to wait for is the map pool. Remember, we spoke about this, we brought this up last week, but the TLMC map pool is getting updated. Sorry, I should say the map pool is being updated as the TLMC Team Game Edition is right around the corner. I believe voting will soon be open regarding that. I think the submission phase is closing soon or has already closed, so that's around the corner. And once we get a new map pool for the 2v2 circuit, if I remember correctly, I believe they want to put on show matches up first. We do have the Sunny Lake Cup #1, not to be confused with Fire Grow Cup, by the way. This is another event organized and hosted by Middle VK. We did cover this event in English, of course. This was an invitational. That is a difference. Typically, the Fire Grow Cup is...
1 second, because the stream is being a bit unstable right now.
Oh, okay.
Give it a few.
Okay.
Are we live? Can you hear us, guys? Can you see us? Because it still is not looking good on my side. So we may actually have to go to the break.
If I refresh. We're cutting to break.
Yeah.
We just wrapped up the miscellaneous events. We'll be going over the regionals soon. Going to a break. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Ooh, do apologize for the stream going down there. So do apologize. But hey, just in time for a new segment. Just in time for the regional show, for the regional events and for the show matches. Again, so do apologize. I believe on YouTube the VOD is still the same. I believe it's all in the same VOD. But here on Twitch, I believe the VOD has now been cut up. So I do apologize for that. Again, we just wrapped up with the news of the week, and we also wrapped up with the amateur events and with the modded tournaments. But now we're going over tournament results here of regionals, show matches, and then the open tournaments. Oh boy. Up first, we have the Sunny Lake Cup. We have Sunny Lake Cup number 1. Not to be confused with Fire Grow Cup. This is another tournament series that is organized by MinnoVK. MinnoVK, he did want to distinguish between Fire Grow Cup and Sunny Lake Cup, just because Fire Grow Cup has qualifiers, is a bigger event, is typically a multi-day event with a group stage, then with the playoffs. This is just a straight-up invitational bracket format, so a little bit leaner, just a one-day event as well, and we were lucky enough to cover it here on our channel. We casted it via replays, and we had some crazy results as well. Coming into this, there's certain players I rate quite highly, but Nickrat, he popped off. Nickrat took down Strange 2-1. That's already an upset. I rate Strange very highly. He's an intense player, and he's often favored, especially against the Zerg players in the region. But no, Nickrat takes down Strange 2-1, takes down Wayne 3-0. Dominant performance there by Nickrat, and he takes down Shameless 4-1 as well. I also rate Shameless very highly. Shameless, he's the rising star in my eyes. Like, he has been performing so well as of late. Takes down G Machine, takes down Milky Cow, but he does fall to Nickrat. So a crazy performance there by Nickrat. Very impressive. GG, well played. A big win for the Terran player. Big win. That leads us into MinnoVK show matches number 2. Again, Minno, he's been hosting a lot of these, and hey, he speaking of Nickrat and Shameless and how that was a crazy result from Nickrat, well, Shameless, he gets his revenge. I love this little grudge match here organized a couple of days ago. Shameless and Nickrat in a best of 9, and Shameless, he takes him down, but it was a close series, so this does go to Nickrat's TVP. I typically rate Nickrat's TVP very highly. It's where we've seen Nickrat take maps off of Hero and take series off of max packs. So Nickrat, he can take to the best Protoss players in the world. And here you can see him take it to Shameless, go all the way to the ace match. He did 4 in the rematch, but I think this is a little bit telling here. Shameless and Nickrat, they went back and forth. Likewise, Nickrat took down Shameless earlier. Shameless took down Nickrat here. Very close in skill. Very impressive play from Nickrat. Very impressive. Shameless, he does claim the win, so congratulations to Shameless for getting his revenge after the finals of Sunny Lake Cup. GG. Maybe a bit of a grudge forming between the two, maybe a bit of a rivalry. Hard to say. We'll force him to play more. We'll force him. Regardless, congratulations Shameless, and a shout out to MinnoVK for organizing another event. As that leads us into the Hungarian Pro Series number 6, the HPS number 6 here. We actually, I believe, went over this last week as it was kind of ongoing, but now has concluded. No. We have...
I will veto this. Last week we were talking about Vortex, which is another Hungarian event, and that one is still ongoing.
Well, there you go. Well, apparently this one has been ongoing for a couple of months, but did just wrap up a couple of days ago. And here we do have Nihed. Nihed does claim it. Again, like we were assuming, I mean, in my eyes, Nihed is the strongest player in all of Hungary. Does claim the win, 3-0 over Winter and 4-1 over Freeman. So GG, well played. Looks like this event did last a very long time. It was 3 months. Yo, OSC? Are we? So a 3-month-long event. When in the end, Nihed does claim the win. Congratulations. Congratulations here to Nihed for taking the win. Again, in my eyes, is the best player in all of Hungary. I say that apparently is living in Poland. Does claim the win here as he is from Hungary. That leads us over into the Brazilian tournament, the host open number 19. Here we did have, unfortunately, a walkover in the finals. If you remember, some of these results weren't quite complete at the time. They weren't quite complete, and we were waiting to hear some results from the event itself, but it looks like... oh, sorry, this isn't a walkover. It's a 3-0. I have to double check that because I believe I was provided replays. Un momento. Un momento here. Inexorable versus Master. Inexorable versus Master. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah. I have confirmation it was a walkover. It was a walkover. So that is unfortunate, but Master, I mean, hey, he takes down Kamikaze 2-1, takes down Inexorable 3-0, and then a walkover over Inexorable in the grand finals. I'm hoping that maybe there wasn't anything too serious there. I'm sure Inexorable would have been willing to compete again against Master. But once again, Master showing his dominance. Once again, Master showing us all that he was deserving to be a part of the Brazilian StarCraft 2 circuit, deserving to be a part of that offline event. It's still crazy and shocking that he didn't qualify, that he didn't make it through because he got cheesed the hell out by Kamikaze. If you remember, here he gets his revenge. Takes on Kamikaze, takes on Inexorable. I will say, though, really impressive to see Kamikaze forcing Inexorable to go all the way to the ace match. Like, I rate Inexorable very highly. I rate him much higher than Kamikaze. I will say that in my eyes there's typically a skill gap between the two, but to see that go all the way to game 5 is really impressive. Really cool to see Kamikaze improving quite a lot as of late. Again, much better result than I was anticipating, for sure. But congratulations to Master. That leads us into Amantes. Amantes is StarCraft number 40. Again, the Brazilian circuit, the new season has begun, and here we have Master once again. Takes down Kamikaze 2-0, takes down Yen 3-1, and takes down Shakti 4-0 in the finals. Shakti did take down Kamikaze, did take down Yen. Went all the way to the ace match. I would have loved to have seen that series. Yen versus Shakti went all the way to game 5. Really cool results, really cool to see. In the end, Master does win it all. Again, Master, he is the best Protoss player in all of Brazil. Arguably the best player. I would say, of course, Eric is up there with him. I would say Eric and Master are top 2. But Eric, he has been absent from these tournaments. I'm sure focusing on other aspects of his life, but I'm hoping to see more of Eric in the future. In the coming Amantes. I hope to see him again. Hope to see him once again. And a big shout out to Cosmos, of course, for covering these events. Typically, we do cast Amantes and host open in English. I do have the replays for those events, but I mentioned previously when we were discussing StarCraft Evolution how we just haven't had as much time to catch up on these tournaments. There's just so much StarCraft happening at once. I have access to all these matches, all these replays, all these casts. We can't cast everything. I would love to. I would love to cast it. I just don't have the time. We can't do it, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best. That leads us into the Legacy Weekly Japan number 468. Here we go, your weekly dose of Japanese StarCraft. Do we get another win from Tapioca? That's what I want to know. And yep, there it is. Tapioca este boba. Takes down Hirekui 2-1. Takes down Noah Shirayuki, a player that I'm very unfamiliar with. Apparently took down Psyarch, impressive. And takes down Vaishravanya in the finals 2-0. Big win to Boba, big win to Tapioca. Again, in my eyes, the rising star in Japan has been recently winning a lot of these tournaments. Este Tapioca. So GG well played. And that leads us into the Seven Smoke series. This is a player that I'm very unfamiliar with. Looks like it's an event from Taiwan. Okay, interesting. Looks like we have King of the Hill format. I believe. No. Oh, okay. So Lemon is the king. So they invite a king of the hill, if you will. So Lemon was invited, and basically they have a wall of players ready to compete against him in best of ones. Regardless whether or not Lemon wins or loses, he is going to be competing, so he is kind of like the star of the show. And we had CCF, we had Maxima, we had Onyx, Andy, Addis Rush, we had I'm Ready, Go Joey, Smile, and a couple of others all facing off against Lemon. Lemon, what I find really fun is that he played all 3 races. Lemon infamously is a player that doesn't play random, but he did in different periods of his career did compete as a Pro Terran, Pro Zerg, and Pro Protoss player. So he has race switched over the past 5+ years of his career. Lemon has been, and currently I believe he is left with Protoss. He's currently a Protoss player. But you can see him showing off his other races, Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. Did lose a game to Onyx, so shout out to Onyx. Big shout out to Onyx for actually getting a win over Lemon and claiming that one win and earning some prize money. But outside of that, Lemon did take down every other player. Currently, I would say that Lemon, he is the best player in Taiwan. In years past, Haas, Nice, But Always, they were the top players. But those 3 players that I mentioned have all retired. They've all retired, and Lemon has kind of risen in their place. So, shout out to Lemon, again, being the best in Taiwan, and does walk away with the bulk of the prize money. Meanwhile, it looks like we had some other kind of side events here. So we had the Seven Smoke series. Sorry, I just went over the side event. My apologies. That leads us into the elimination. I'm not too certain how this format works, but apparently it says elimination. This is really a qualifier. It says top 8 players qualify for the main event. It's a better way of putting it. So top 8 players do qualify. We had Caron. Caron takes on Tempest 2-1 to qualify. We had Old Zest. Oh.
Not Young Zest. Not to be confused.
Not to be confused with Zest or Young Zest. So there's Zest, the Korean Protoss. There's Young Zest, the Chinese Protoss, and we have Old Zest, the Taiwanese Protoss. Oh no. Oh no. We need an old Yakov, and we need a middle-aged Yakov as well.
we need a family tree at this point.
Yes. Okay. I love it. So shout out to Old Zest. We need a show match now. We need a show match between the old and the young, 100%. Shout out to Sean. Sean takes down U-Rush 2-0. We have Andy taking down his opponent 2-0. So we have a couple of players which I'm not familiar with their characters. We have it's Zan. Zan, the Malaysian Terran. Okay. I don't know how he found himself there, but Zan, he does take down Onion Storm 2-0, and we had Maxima taking down Midu Kuti 2-0 as well. So congratulations to our players qualifying for the main event. Speaking of, the main event is around the corner. Looks like, I say around the corner, has already concluded actually. Concluded a couple of days ago. So we have our group stage. We had Andy, Old Zest, Aired Rush. I think that's meant to be Aries Rush, by the way. I think that's a typo? Question mark. Sean and a couple of other players. We had Karen, Hui, Maxima, Zan as well. In the end, we had Andy, Old Zest, Karen, and Hui making it through, and we have a pure Protoss playoffs. Jesus. Nothing but Protoss. I mean, hey, I know that's been trendy as of late, but Jesus, just a wall of green. Andy takes down Hui, Karen takes down Old Zest, and Karen takes down Andy 3-0. A player that a lot of these players I'm very unfamiliar with. Like, I know Zan. True, I know Zan, and I know who Young Zest is. But really cool to see Old Zest making it that far. And yeah, shout out to the organizers behind the event as well. Shout out to the organizers.
Here's a little fun fact. This tournament, I don't know if it was organized by, but it was at least casted by a player who actually participated in one of our amateur tournaments.
There you go.
Aikawa, also known as Undertaker.
We know Undertaker. He became ineligible for our tournaments because he got too good. Fun fact. So that's why he no longer plays in our tournaments anymore. But yeah, shout out to Undertaker for competing, and again for competing in amateur events and for running this event as well. Really cool to see. And hope to see more of these in the future. As that leads us to the Sunrise Cup. Sunrise Cup 212. This is a weekly Chinese tournament, and here we did have. Oh, was that Silky? Let me just double check. As we did have Moondeer. Oh, we had Moondeer claiming the win over, I believe that is Silky? No. Okay. But Moondeer does win the event. So quickly scrolling on over here, we have Jolo Loves. Oh, okay. Takes down Jolo Loves 2-0. Very impressive. And there's Young Zest. We just spoke about him. He goes down early also to Moondeer. Not an easy run for Moondeer. Takes down Young Zest, takes down Jolo Loves, and it does take down his final opponent in those in that best of 5 as well. So very impressive play there by Moondeer. Does claim the win. Looks like Nanami forfeited. Oh, I would have favored Nanami to win the entire tournament, but yeah, Nanami did forfeit in the semis. So a little bit unfortunate there, but congratulations to Moondeer for claiming the win. Very impressive stuff. And again, really cool to see all the Chinese participation, as this event is a regular weekly tournament and regularly does host like a good amount of players. Solid signups, as always. And that leads us into Lily Cup number 44. They've been having a lot of fun with off-race show matches, and here we had an off-race invitational. Here we had Lily Cup 44, the Kaczynski Cup. Let's go, Kaczynski Cup edition. We had invited players from China, from Korea, from all around the world, even some Europeans. Lambo and Harstam also taking part. Lancer, Cyan, Coffee, Hero, Jeshi, and Nightmare, and Shin as well. So a solid lineup of players. And the way this worked is that players were forced to play all 3 races. They had to play all 3 races in the best of 3. So as you can see here, you can see every player had to play Zerg, Protoss, and Terran if need be, if they went all the way to the ace match. So they had to assign their respective races. In the end, Lambo takes down Kofi, Hero takes down Jeshi, Nightmare takes down Cyan, and Shin takes down Hearthstone. Shin, he 2-1 Nightmare to make it to the finals. Lambo 2-1 Hero to make it to the finals. Lambo winning with Zerg and Protoss. Shin winning with also Zerg and Protoss. Let's go. And in the finals, we had Shin win with his Zerg, Lambo won with his Zerg, Lambo then winning with Protoss 2 games in a row. Okay. Bearing in mind for game 4, they played random. Lambo landed on Protoss, and Shin landed on Terran. Again, Lambo infamously has been playing a lot of Protoss. Lambo, I believe he didn't win a single game with Terran. But he relied on the Zerg and Protoss instead. And in the end, Lambo is this edition's Lily Cup champion. Congratulations to Lambo. He is the Kaczynski of the world. Beautiful. GG well played. GG well played, Lambo. All that off racing paying off. All that off racing does pay off in the end. Congratulations with that win over Shin. Again, Lily Cup is not to be confused with the weeklies. Lily Cup does often have unique formats, unique tournaments. Again, they've been doing a lot of off-race show matches and a lot of unique fun styles, and we have that here as well. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into our OSC events. Here we go. That leads us into the OSC Elite Rising Star. Rising Star number 16, day 3. We did cover day 1, we covered day 2, now we're here covering day number 3 as well. Oh boy, we've been blazing through it is what I will say. Is OSC Elite running at a pace that has never run before? I want to say yes. Let's go. As we wrapped up the upper brackets, we had Art. Art takes down Nikrak 2-1. Art takes down Tebessus 2-1, and we got what we were hoping for. I mean, I wasn't, but the people wanted it. Art versus Art. Fun fact, by the way, I double checked this because I was like, I wanted to see if we ever casted them played before, and I checked our YouTube channel. We've never casted Art versus Art, and I was like, oh, wait, if we've never casted it, has it ever happened? I looked it up. Fun fact, Art versus Art has never happened. If we never casted it, I was pretty certain that maybe it's never happened before. I double checked. Art versus Art is a series that has never occurred in the history of StarCraft. I'm sure they've played before on the ladder. I'm sure they played before on the ladder, but they've never played before in offline or online tournaments. That is crazy, by the way, considering these are 2 players with the same name that are active in the same period of time. Like, they're both very active players. They played a lot of tournaments. I guess like Art has been a little bit less active in recent years. True, but like, it's not like one player was active like in Heart of the Swarm, and the other was active like in Legacy. Like, no, like they've been relatively active in the same period. Somehow, some way, they just have avoided each other. They've just avoided each other time and time again, even though I'm pretty sure they played in a lot of tournaments together as well. So this is a first, a battle of the arts, a battle of the art. Let's go, Papi, let's go. So who's gonna take the win? Who is going to have to rename after the series? We're here to find out. We're here to find out who is the stronger Art. Let's go. So they're going to be facing off. Percival takes down Moja 2-1 as well, and Percival's waiting for the winner of Babe Marine and Young Jakob. Meanwhile, we also did go over some of the elimination matches, and we have been due to a couple of key players. In the end, Jomek is out of OSC Elite Rising Star. Hatsu is out. Minivike is out, and Night Phoenix is also out. Papi popping off over Night Phoenix. So we now have some confirmed players eliminated from the tournament. We still have more lower bracket matches to come. Whether we cast day 4, we've casted day 1, day 2, day 3 so far. Whether we cast day 4, I cannot confirm. Typically, if another caster is available, like Chicken Man, like Steadfast, like Dave Testa, like Wardy, some of the other casters do step in to cover the event. For now, we have been stepping in to cover the OSC Elite Rising Star. That might continue to be the case. I cannot confirm. I cannot say for certain whether we continue to cover it or not. Cannot say, but regardless, we do what we can, and we're there if we're called upon. GG. GG, well played. So with that, the tournament is slowly progressing. I mean, I say slowly. It's progressing quite nicely. It's progressing quite nicely. Something we almost never see. Let's go. Meanwhile, that leads us over to OSC King of the Hill number 222. Let's go. We did have our weekly OSC King of the Hill tournament, and here we did have some interesting results. We were alluding to this previously. We'll get into it. First things first, we had Sig. Sig takes down Hatzel 1-0. Remember, these are all best of ones. Best of one, winner stays on. King of the Hill style tournament. Hydra takes down Sig 1-0. UD Soldier takes down Hydra. GG Machine takes down UD Soldier. So we have a back and forth initially for the first 4 matches, and then bam, GG Machine takes down UD Soldier, Jomek, Honmono, Art as well. So GG Machine goes on a 4-game win streak. Very impressive run there by GG Machine. The first big win streak of the tournament. Then Nick Rat takes down GG Machine. Geralt takes down Nick Rat, takes down Percival as well, and takes down Rebellion. A 3-game win streak out of Geralt. Very impressive. And then Nightmare comes in. Nightmare, his return is here. Remember, Nightmare, he came back, I want to say a couple of weeks ago at this point. He takes down Geralt, takes down MVK, takes down Christiana, but he falls to Björn. I don't know what it is about Eddie, but Eddie, he usually holds on to Björn until the end. Very often Björn, he comes out like in the later third of the tournament. That's when Björn pops off. That's when he's revealed, and Björn pops off at the end, takes down Nightmare, and Björn is the final king of the hill. But a shout out to Nightmare, to Geralt, and to GG Machine for their win streaks. GG Machine actually going in the longest win streak and walking away with the most amount of prize money. GG. GG will play their GG Machine. And a shout out to all the other competitors, all the other winners, all the other champions. Bearing in mind in this format, you get prize money for every win you get. So congratulations. That leads us into Lily Cup Weekly number 2. We spoke about this. We have the regular Lily Cups, which are invitationals, but this is a new open tournament leading into an end of month finals. We did cover this event ourselves as well in English. Here we had Max Pax popping off. Max Pax didn't drop a single map. He 2-0'd Rebellion, 2-0'd Creator, 2-0'd Rogue, and 3-0'd Hero Marine, Big Gabe, which was really exciting to see. What I mean by that is that Big Gabe is a rare sight. He often doesn't play in open cups. He's been very vocal that he doesn't enjoy them. He doesn't enjoy waiting, doesn't enjoy the downtime. He doesn't enjoy playing non-stop TVP. And hey, he showed up here, rare sight, and what did he play? Non-stop TVP. Which is to be expected when it comes to open cups. So non-stop TVP, but he had a really good performance. He took down Harsum 2-1, Classic, who's our runner-up, our most recent World Cup runner-up, and he took down Trigger 2-1 as well. Trigger, who just 2-0'd Hero. Trigger had a really strong performance in his PvP, taking down Hero. Hero took down Young Zest, but Gabe pops off. I mean, these are still really close series against Hearthstone, against Classic, and against Trigger. In the finals, is more one-sided, but again, at Max Pax, you could make an argument that he has some of the best PvT in the world. I will say that right now, Max Pax, he's hitting his stride more than before. In months past, Max Pax's weak point was PvP. He had some really rough PvP and would often fall in the Protoss matchup as well. But in recent weeks, we were talking about this a lot last week and the week before that as well. Max Pax, he has reinvented his own PvP. I say reinvented. He has stopped going for the Gate, Cyber, Stargate expansion build. That is what he's been doing for the past 4 years. He has stopped, and finally Max Pax is going for 2 gate openers and proxies. Max Pax, he's now a lot more flexible in PvP, and now he's been finding a lot more success in PvP as a result. So his weakest matchup has now gotten a lot stronger, and now he's able to really pop off in these tournaments, just now starting a couple of weeks ago. So really cool to see Max Pax find his stride, has been excelling, has been getting better and better results, and we expect to see more of this in the coming tournament results. Up next, we have the Platinum StarCraft League August Edition. This is a monthly tournament run by the Platinum Esports and Platinum Heroes. We were lucky enough to cover this event in English, and we had Nightmare pop off. We spoke about it. Nightmare, he has been back for a couple of weeks. Nightmare takes on Percival 2-0, takes down Nickrak 3-2. We were praising Nickrak for his wins against Shameless, and you can see here, again, he takes down Shameless. We've had that back and forth, went all the way to the ace match where Nickrak, he does pop off against Shameless. Very impressive. Again, he was the biggest threat to Nightmare as well. He almost beat him. He almost knocked Nightmare out, and Nightmare, he barely won over Nickrat. He then barely takes down Geralt. I remember those games. There's definitely a world out there where Nickrat could have been Nightmare. There were some of those games that were so close. It could have gone they could have gone Nickrat's way. Barely didn't. In the end, Geralt takes down Homono, takes down Jimmy as well, and in the end did go up against Nightmare. did fall. We do have to adjust this Wikipedia page actually because Akedon did off race. He did off race. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Akedon did play Protoss against Jumi. We casted him. We casted him against Triple, and we casted him against Jumi as well. He did play Protoss in a PvP matchup. But it was great to see Akedon once again. Akedon, he's been MIA since HSL. It's been months since Akedon has competed, so really cool to see him once again. He's not really in form, is what I will say. He's not really in form to the point where he was off racing and playing Protoss, but it was really cool to see him nonetheless. And in the end, Nightmare just claimed the win over Geralt 3-1. GG, well played. Again, Nightmare struggling the most against Nicorite, but did blaze his way through Geralt and Percival as well. Very impressive return here for Nightmare. Very impressive. Bearing in mind, this event is restricted to players that are 3k and below in Illegal with their Illegal rating specifically. So bear that in mind. That's why you don't see Bjorn here, you don't see Max Pax, you don't see Shin. This event is restricted to all those top players. They're not able to compete in this. Meanwhile, we have Sparkling Tunica Cup. We do have our weekly open tournament. Here we had a boosted prize pool, if you recall, thanks to a generous donation by Sniper StarCraft. Did donate 100 USD to the tournament, so we did have a boosted prize pool. Here we did have a Nightmare. Nightmare, he popped off again, takes down Shameless, but he does fall to Trigger. Trigger, he has been looking very impressive in the PvP matchup. We spoke about how he beat Hero earlier, and here he beats Nightmare as well. Likewise, Percival, I would say the highlight of this tournament was the TBT. Percival versus Bjorn. Big upset. I favor Bjorn against Percival. They played a lot, and Bjorn often is the champion, often is the winner against Percival. But this week, Percival pulled off a crazy upset. 2-0'd Geralt, and he 2-1'd Bjorn. Really, really impressive results. Unfortunately, we did have a walkover in the finals. Trigger did 2-0, and then after game 2, Percival did forfeit. He did step away. Percival, he is known for being very vocally upset about the TVP matchup. He often doesn't like it, even though it's his best matchup, to be honest. It's straight up. It is his best matchup. He gets the best results in Terran vs. Protoss. I know that he just beat Bjorn in TVT, but I still rate his TVP better than his TVT. So Percival, he often does pop off against Protoss, but here he fell to Trigger, and he did kind of... yeah, he forfeited just because of that, just because of those, just because of set matchup, I would imagine. Typically, like he isn't very, he's not very BM when it comes to his tournament play. He's often very, you know, he often doesn't GG. Like that's the most that it goes for. And then, hey, if the worst that you're doing is not GGing, then it's a pretty mannered event. Like it's still very tame. It's not like he's cursing players out or spamming them or anything like that. But this is probably the furthest that he's gone, is just straight up leaving a tournament because of the matchup. I said this before, but if this does become a trend, then we will probably suspend Percival. This is the first time that this has happened, so it's all good. Like, a warning is all that we would issue. But again, if this becomes a more regular occurrence, then we would probably suspend Percival from our tournaments, if not ban him, if this were to become a more regular occurrence. But for now, it's the first time. It's the first time. Not too surprising given the kind of person that Percival is, but hopefully it doesn't become a trend. Hopefully he's able to get his emotions under control and calm down, Bobby. Calm down. Aye. As that leads us into the What is TV Monday. What is TV Monday number 48. Here we have our next open tournament. Here we did have Hero. Hero, he takes down Showtime 2-1. Does get a walkover win over Shameless, and he 2-0s Max Pax. Oh, big win there for Hero. Very interesting considering that Max Pax has been adjusting his PvP as of late. I would have rated Max Pax a little bit higher here, so I'm really curious to see how that series panned out. Typically we cast these tournaments, but this week we did not cast the What is TV Monday because the Monday was postponed. This weekly tournament was postponed. It was held later in the day, so we were not able to cover this event, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we had Nightmare popping off. We were praising Nightmare earlier about his return, but this is his strongest showing. He did not have an easy road. This is crazy. Nightmare, he 2-1'd Rogue, he 2-0'd Bjorn, he 2-1'd Cure, and then went to the ace match against Hero. This is crazy. Like this is, remember, this is a Nightmare that's only been back for 2 weeks. Like Nightmare, he's only going to get better from here. So for him to 2-0 To beat Bjorn, Cure, Rogue, and force Hero to the ace match, this is impressive. And these are players, this is post EWC. Like, these are not players that are out of shape. Like, Bjorn, Cure, Rogue, Hero, they are not out of shape at all. So, this is insane out of Nightmare. Okay. It's crazy. Now, what I will say is that this is crazy impressive. True. It's going to be more impressive if he can do this on a regular basis. Like, this is a one-time thing so far, but I will be keeping my eye open for Nightmare to see if he's able to replicate this success again. If he can do so again, then definitely my opinion of Nightmare is going to get stronger and stronger moving forward here, because that was crazy. Nightmare, he may not have won the tournament, but he exceeded a lot of expectations, for sure. For sure. So, crazy tournament here for Nightmare in What Is to Be Monday. Very crazy, very impressive. That leads us into the, which I just realized was very Korean dominated. I do know this event was clashing with the next event. So I think that might also be why there was some forfeits. Yep, you can see Shameless, he forfeited in the What Is TV Monday. Because why? Because he was playing in the other tournament. So less European representation here, as because we had our other tournament. Hey, there's Clem. I love how, that's crazy. Clem and Rainer, they chose to play in Roddy's tournament over Wardy's tournament. That's kind of crazy. Roddy's tournament being an all-random tournament, being a lot more fun, of course. So here we had an all-random tournament. We had a decent prize pool as well, not too great. Bear that in mind as well. So actually a smaller prize pool than the Wardy events, but a lot more fun nonetheless, a lot more laid back. We had Rainer popping off. Rainer takes down G Machine 2-0, takes down Clem 2-1, takes down Shameless 2-0, and takes down G Machine 2-0 as well. Again, this is why Shameless forfeited in the previous tournament, because he was playing in this tournament instead. He did have a decent performance, taking down Hacker as top, but fell to G Machine. G Machine, he knocked out Clem. Let's go. G Machine, he was the one that knocked out Clem to make it to the finals. In the end, Rainer, he is the most random of all players out there. He is our champion. He's our random champion. So congratulations to Rainer. And again, it's a little bit unfortunate that these events were overlapping. But as I mentioned, Wardy did decide to push his tournament back just because there was something else that was taking up his time in the morning. So because he was just unavailable earlier in the day, so did push it back, did clash with this event. So because that signups were, I'm sure, impacted for both tournaments. As that led us into this week's Pigasus Cup number 45. Unfortunately, this is an event that we weren't able to cover. I was very sick this week, and there was one day that we didn't cast. This was the day. So unfortunately, we did not cover this event. We had Bjorn takes down Mute 2-0, takes down Creator 3-0. It's Creator took down Nina. Nina has been a little bit more active as of late, so great to see the return of Nina. Hero takes down Rebellion, takes down Percival, and we had Hero versus Bjorn in the finals. Hero does claim the win. Shout out to Bjorn for taking a map. Hero, of course, has been in form as of late. Remember, he just beat Max Pax in the previous tournament and Nightmare as well. So Hero winning 2 back-to-back weeklies, the Wardy TV Monday and the Pigasus Cup as well. Congratulations to Hero. No Max Pax this time. No Max Pax this week. Unfortunately, as that leads us into the Wardy TV Summer Championship 2025. This is an ongoing major tournament. We already went over the group stage last week, I believe. Some of the groups. I believe we were actually in the middle of Group C last time. So middle of Group C. So now we have results. We have Shin, Creator, Bunny making it through. They were the favorite players. And if you remember, last time we didn't have a confirmed player for Group D. We were still waiting for an invite. Looks like they never got an invite. Looks like there was never a replacement, so Group D only had 4 players. A little bit of a feels bad man there. As Spirit, Solar, and Goblin make it out of Group D, and they make it into the next group stage, which is currently ongoing. So once again, currently ongoing. Let's go over some of these results here. As of a couple of days ago, Group A. Group A had Max Pax, Cure, Rogue, and Creator. Ooh, a spicy group, to be honest. Max Pax has been in form. So has Cure, and in the end, Max Pax and Cure make it through. Rogue 2-0 Creator, Max Pax 2-1 to Cure. Cure 3-2 to Creator in the best of 5. Cure did take Creator down. It's round robin. Oh. So for a moment, I thought it was GSL format. But round robin, Max Pax takes down Rogue as well. Oh, wait, no, it is. Yeah, it is GSL format. Okay, my apologies. So it is GSL format, just with a mixture of best of 5s as well towards the end. So Max and Kurju make it through. Meanwhile, we had Group B, Clem, Björn, Shin, and Goblin. Clem and Björn do advance on. Clem takes down Goblin 2-0 and Björn 3-0. So Clem doesn't drop a single map. Björn, he did drop maps to Shin, but still did beat him in the end to make it through into the next round. Congratulations. Meanwhile, Group C, we have Hero, Bunny, Zaun, and Solar. Ooh, this is a closer group, I would say. For the previous groups, there's maybe a bit of a clearer delineation between top two and the bottom two. Here, Hero, Bunny, Zaun, and Solar. I would say this is probably the group of death. I would say that this group has players that are very, very close in skill. Here, Bunny takes down Zaun 2-1. Hero takes down Solar 2-0. Currently, Zaun and Solar mid-series in a best of 5. And Zaun, he's up 2-0. He's about to 3-0 Solar. Oh my god. Okay, I was leaning more towards like Hero and Solar coming out of this group, but Solar might be eliminated soon. Hero is my pick for first place, but in second, is it going to be Solar, Zaun, or Bunny? Based on these results, I'm not feeling too hot on Solar right now. He is struggling a little bit. I know he's been taking a break post EWC. Meanwhile, when it comes to Zaun and Bunny, Bunny did just beat Zaun, but it was close. It's going to be a hard one to call. Bearing in mind that their next match, if they do face again, assuming the Hero would win, but the upcoming matches, the remaining matches are best of 5. Remaining matches are best of 5, so they're going to be longer series here. I'm going to go for the fan pick and say Hero and Bunny. Big Bunny fan, but I can see Zaun making it through as well. Harder one to call. Best of luck. Best of luck to all the players in Group C. Group D is going to be in 2 days. In 2 days' time, we have Group D. We have Classic, Spirit, Nightmare, and Percival. Classic going to be the heavy favorites in that tournament, or in that group, I should say. And based on previous results this week, I have to give it to Nightmare. I have to say that Classic and Nightmare are the top 2 players. I can see Percival causing an upset. I said it before for SEL, but I don't have a lot of faith in Spirit right now. He's been having a harder time. It does feel like he's been more on a break as of late, so best of luck to Spirit. He's going to need it. Best of luck to Percival as well. Hoping his emotions don't get to him in this event. But I lean towards Classic and Nightmare. The next time we have a podcast, we'll have all the results of this event, and likewise, we will have the results of the playoffs as well. The playoffs are this weekend. The playoffs are going to be this weekend, so next time you see us, we'll be there to report on the results. Best of luck. Best of luck to all the players involved for the WardyTV Summer Championship. As that wraps up the results for the week. Again, if you wish to sign up for some of these open cups, you can do so via our sign up list. As you can see here, what is coming up next? Little League Cup is tomorrow. Little League Cup number 3 is tomorrow. We have KSL over the weekend. We have MSO over the weekend. We have Sunrise Cup, CSO Cup, STC, and many, many more tournaments. Again, they're all listed on the sign up list. So if you are out there, if you happen to be interested in competing, even you don't have to be a pro player. A lot of these tournaments are open to all. Some of these events are MR restricted as well, so you might be eligible. You might have a better chance at having a deeper run as well, with a more competitive format with other players around your skill level. Regardless, consider playing. All these tournaments are open to all players, and again, it's sometimes a fun experience to sign up and to be pitted against someone like Hero or Björn and play against them as a fan. For sure. Something that we would often do as well in the past. So do consider checking out those signups. Likewise, if you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, Patreon is the place to be. Exclamation mark Patreon in the chat. Our Patreon is designed to fund our tournaments, to fund our open cups. So thank you so much to all of our supporters, to all of our patrons. You do gain benefits. You do gain replay packs as well. Replay packs that we have been catching up on, of course. We've been sending them out to our patrons, to our subscribers, and we have more replay packs to come. So thank you so much to all the supporters, and I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. I do apologize for the stream going down earlier. For those that are maybe just now tuning in and looking at the time we've been live, and might be thinking, hold up, this was a short show. We were live previously. It's all one VOD on YouTube, but the Twitch VOD is cut up into like 3 or 4 at this point because it went up and down. So I do apologize, but again, if you want our VODs, YouTube is the place to be. It's all there. All of our VODs are on YouTube, uploaded on a daily basis. Again, on Twitch, they don't support VODs anymore, just as a heads up. And we went over quite a lot. We spent a lot of time with StarCraft Evolution and with this week's tournaments as well. So again, do check it out. If you have any recommendations for maybe events that we missed that you want us to cover, it's hard to keep up with everything, then let us know. When it comes to our next cast, as I mentioned before, this is like a bit of an announcement, I guess, is moving forward, we might be casting a little bit less. typically we, start the CranKy Ducklings has kind of our motto, something that we harp on because it's true, is hey, we cast more StarCraft than any other channel out there. True, more StarCraft than Wardy, more StarCraft than Steadfast, more StarCraft than Pig, more StarCraft than anyone else. We have the content, we have the quantity, and we have a little bit of the quality. But that might be changing soon because I've just had less time to cast. I've had less time to cast as of late. Typically, we try to cast twice a day, every single day for the most part. We would have like 2 half days off. But in recent times, especially because I have some pet bunnies. I have some pet bunnies. You can see them in our Discord server. I've been sharing some images. Somehow, I've suddenly gotten 2 new pets, and they're quite young, and they're still growing, and they're amazing. They're beautiful. But I've been looking after them, of course. I've been spending time in kind of other aspects of my life as well. So I've had a little bit less time to cast, or I've been able to, but it's just so juggling casting twice a day alongside looking after new pets, alongside scheduling VODs, editing VODs, and working behind the scenes, like admitting tournaments as well. Like it's becoming a little bit too much to handle. And I don't know if I can keep that up. I'll do my best. As I mentioned before, I do want to at least try to cast all of the round of 16 of SEL. I want to try to at least do that, which would constitute 2 casts a day every day next week. But I can definitely see things slowing down moving forward to once a day, which is still we're live daily for sure. We're still going to be live daily. That's going to be the minimum. But our casts might turn into once a day instead of twice a day. So I do apologize for those in other parts of the world. I know that we have, say, viewers in the Americas and Latin America that are really fond of our morning casts, and then we have casts at this time for our European viewers, and it is going to negatively impact viewership from the Americas, for example, that try to watch us live and maybe won't be able to as much anymore moving forward. So I do apologize for that. I do apologize. And because of that as well, if we start casting a little bit less, we have to be a little bit more selective as to what we do cast. We try to cast everything. We try to cast as much as we can. But now we're gonna have to pick and choose. We've already been neglecting StarCraft Evolution a little bit and casting less StarCraft Evolution tournaments. Feels a little bit bad. Like it's a really fun game mode, and I do want to cover it whenever I can. But now moving forward, for example, like I've got a bunch of Brazilian tournament casts, right? Do I have the time for it though? Do we get the most amount of viewership for it though? The answer is no, right? For Brazilian only tournaments, which would be a shame as well if we were to be a little bit more selective and cut that out. Same with StarCraft Evolution, same with like modded tournaments, same with like Mid-VK tournaments, Sunny Lake Cup, right? I have access to those matches as well for Sunny Lake Cup, for other show matches, for Little League Cup show matches as well. Like there's a lot that we have access to, and at this point we probably have too much to cast. So we already did, but now even more so. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Again, we're still going to be live every single day, but maybe a little bit less than previously. It's going to be hard to cut out some of our casting, but yeah, it's just too much StarCraft. It's too much, Pap. It's too much. I can't do it all on my own, Pap. Can't do it all. It's time for Kupo to cast more. Is that right, Kura?
Huh? In between, like doing everything else, the socials, the brackets, the calendars. Yeah. Sounds good.
I mean, ideally, we'd have other CranKy Ducklings able to step in, but of course, Yaku's now focused on his own IRL career. Milk, it's been a while since I've cast with Milk. I miss my lechito.
We have to.
But Milk.
I was gonna say we have to drag back Milk because he has started streaming lately, so clearly he has the time.
True. Like Milk has been busy with his own IRL career. Asher was busy with his IRL career, going back to studies, going back to uni. Like there's just been a lot less time from some of the other Ducklings out there to be able to dedicate to casting as much as we usually do. So yeah, that's just a bit of a PSA, a bit of a heads up moving forward for us here on the CranKy Ducklings. There are definitely things that we will still keep consistent, like PondCast, like STC, like Sparkling Tuna Cup, like eventually Tenacious Total Tussle, like MSO, SDO, like our tournaments. I am going to try to prioritize like Wardy TV Monday, Pegasus Cup, Little League Cup, the regular weeklies, but there are other more sporadic events that we might have to start saying no to. But we'll see. We'll see how we decide to adjust our schedule. We might even do it like where we cast twice a day every second day or something. Like something like that, Yeah, we'll see how we adjust. Yeah, steel mode. True. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thank you for the support. And we'll see you guys next time. We'll see you guys next week for the next podcast, or we'll see you potentially tomorrow for StarCraft Evolution League for one of the groups of the round of 28, or at least the League Cup tomorrow. So one or the other, either Lily Cup tomorrow or some StarCraft Evolution. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much to Kuro as well for handling the production side of things, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.